Oh my God, y'all saw that, right? Oh, I'm dead.
Hashtag pew pew choo choo. Immolation. 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 Immolation.
Live. So there we go. And let me see. And so, Green, real quick, we are doing top 3 at the end so that Bife isn't subjected to the torture that is that.
Correct. I don't want to, unless Bife wants to chime in with his top 3 holiday movies. I figured we'd spare him that.
Dude, we're doing this at the fucking beginning. We are absolutely doing this at the start.
Oh my goodness! All right, I got to pull up all the crap for that.
All right,
then.
hang on.
I'm gonna say Green. Come on now, I gotta told you that Bife would have been in for that.
Well, I mean, I figured it's not terribly late there, but it's not exactly terribly early either.
Mm-hmm. No, it's fine. It's like 9 p.m. I mean, let's be brutally honest. Like my sleep schedule still means I go to sleep at 1, so it's it could be worse. But
True.
this is well within the
if we're-
boundaries.
yeah, I was about to say, if we're still on when it's time for you to go to bed, we'll use you as
Oh,
an
God.
excuse to get to end.
My wife will kill me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
All right, let me know when you're ready, Green.
One more moment. All right, ready to go.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Welcome to FFC Top 3, a show where we, your FFC host, and a special guest this week, count things down from 3 to number 1. Thank you for joining us this week. If you have a suggestion, you know where to hit us up. Twitter, @FocusFireChat, in our Discord, or even email us at focusfirechat@gmail.com. This week, we're discussing our top 3 holiday movies. So notice it's not necessarily Christmas movies, it's holiday movies. And like I said, we have a special guest with us this week.
Immolation.
The one and only sultry tiger from across the pond, Bife. Welcome
Hey,
to Top 3.
wonderful to be here.
Mhm.
Wow, I didn't realize Top 3 was its own show. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of like our little get to know the host type show.
Yeah, nice. Awesome. Okay.
So, the way that it kind of works on this is I kind of set us up in an order. I'm going to have Blue go first, then Bife, then Beard, and then I'll kind of end it out, and we'll go 3. Everybody goes through their 3s. Everybody then will go through all their 2s, and then we'll finally finish up at number 1, and we get to see how everybody enjoys their holiday movies. Sound good?
Let's do it.
All right, Blue, start us off. What's your
So
number
I'm gonna
3?
just I'm glad that I get to go first on this because I know Beard's gonna try to steal this from me. Someone in chat already stole it from me last 2 weeks ago. But number 3
Well,
is
I was trying to keep it quiet for the sake that I knew you and I were both going to say the same damn thing. Like, let's be frank here for just 5 seconds.
Die Hard. Die Hard is number 3. God bless it! Black Flag! Black Flag beat me again! Dang it! Die Hard is
won
number
this last
3.
time,
It's
too.
totally a Christmas movie.
It is.
What? Your Die Hard is your number 3?
Yeah, number
Yeah.
3.
What?
Yeah, number 3. Oh no, it's gonna get
Unbelievable.
better. It's gonna get better.
Oh, it's gonna get better? Oh, wow.
we-
Is it-
Well,
wait.
more
Is
entertaining.
it just-
Let's say that.
Oh,
is,
yeah.
is your top 3 just Die Hard, Die Hard 2, and Die Hard 3? Because if it is, I will
Thankfully, that
lose
doesn't
my
work.
mind.
Thankfully,
like-
that doesn't work.
Life's like, I'm done. I'm leaving. I'm never coming back here.
It's like, wait, why did I say that I wanted to do top 3? What is wrong with me?
I mean, it's always a fun time. God,
I will simply say this: Google Christmas movies. Die Hard is on that list.
Yep,
If
it's
Google
true.
is to be
It's
trusted.
true.
It's on
It is
that
true.
freaking list. It is a Christmas movie.
Mhm. All right, Bife. Since Blues kicked us off with such a strong one, what are you up for number 3?
Okay, so I have a variety of Christmas movies that I love. Spoiler alert: Die Hard was going to be later in my list. So thanks for stealing that one there, Blue. Like
Yes.
instantly.
Like I said, I was like, as soon as she's like, Blue gets to go first, like, yes.
Yep.
Realistically, like I figured there was no way that this was gonna be around for that long. Like I figured someone else had to have mentioned it by then. But no. So number 3 for me, this is gonna be a really soppy one, but that's entirely the purpose of it, is actually a classic British film, Love Actually.
Mm.
Have you ever heard of that?
I love that movie. It's so sweet.
Actually.
So I identify with so much of that because there's the awkward British romance, you got that. There's the young kid who thinks he's
Immolation.
really cool and tries to get into a band when he's younger and trying to do something musically related so that he can impress a girl. I've done that. And then there's the guy who
Wow.
goes to America and then is like, my British accent's totally gonna get me laid.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And like that's I feel like that's something where you could like associate a stereotype with most British dudes with that. So
I was just sitting here like, wait, Bife, is this just your childhood? Is that what you're describing right now?
This and
well,
Birdie Eyes
I hope not, because one of the opening scenes is two people in a porno as well. Do you remember that? Do you
Oh,
remember
God,
that? And it's just the most British thing too, because whilst it's like, oh yeah, could you remove the shirt and yeah, massage the nipples? Then like, of course, because it's just so awkwardly British, they start talking about the weather, and I'm like, this is my country. This is actually my country.
I feel like there was somebody brilliant that had summed that up pretty well. And now for something completely different.
Yes. And now for something completely different. Beard.
Oh, Lord, here we go. All right, so I'm just going to do a blanket statement here because everybody expects this of me at this point now. So, Team 4-Star has been doing this long-running thing for I don't know how long now, where all of the movies that they've produced, or just about all of them, have been Christmas related. So one of the first ones that they came out with was the Tree of Might, which is the one with the Dragon Ball Z movie with Turles. They nicknamed it the Christmas Tree of Might, and Turles' ultimate goal was to sap all of the Christmas joy from Earth. If you are not in the holiday spirit after that one, well, just hang on to your butts because it gets better. The Lord Slug one is not taking place during Christmas, but King Kai gets the ultimate idea that because it's snowing on Earth, because Lord Slug made everything cold and it's now snowing, King Kai says, Goku, you are the champion of Christmas. And it, of course, completely backfires, except for the fact that, you know, Santa Claus still shows up in July, which is the ultimate funny thing because it's Christmas in July. And the last bit that I can really remember is one of the more recent ones where they go after the Ultimate Hero Extermination Plan, which is a mouthful in and of itself. But they talk about they actually have the main villain be Santa Claus. He's just conformed and changed so much because he's like, I don't understand this planet anymore. You guys are just a bunch of jerks, and I'm gonna take you all out. And it of course ends where this was the last Christmas pun ever, but it also happens to be the last Christmas ever.
Oh my god.
That is amazing.
I give them all the props in the world for like continuing the joke because it was very well done. It continues to be. I go back and I watch those movies a little bit more often than I probably should, but they're great background noise at least.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I feel so plain compared to the three of you at this point. I'm like,
isn't that every week though, Green? That's every week. Like I just want to get that out there.
It's like my number 3 is like the Santa Claus, because I mean Tim Taylor, Tim the Tillman Taylor.
So I'm gonna Tim the Tap Man.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean that one too.
Okay, I'll not lie. You say that, and it's such a generic name that I genuinely can't remember which Christmas.
Yeah.
it is.
So it's God, what is that guy's name? The one where the really jerk CEO kind of guy he accidentally kills Santa Claus, and so he has to take over as being Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Why can't I think of his name right now? He was Tim the Toolman Taylor on that Tool Time show.
Tim Allen.
But
thank you.
Tim Allen.
Nerd and Needle saved the day.
Yes.
But that was that's the one where he has his son with him. They're like, yeah, we're gonna drink a bowl of whiskey.
Fun. Okay.
Like the son is so excited about the whole thing, and he is not, and he has to learn how to basically have a heart at Christmas.
Well, and then he also starts gaining all the weight, and he's like,
yes,
the doctor. He's like, you're healthy as a horse. Yeah, Clydesdale.
It's great times. All right, Blue. I cannot wait to see how you're going to top Die Hard.
So, well, for me at least, because I absolutely, completely, utterly hate Christmas movies. Nightmare Before Christmas is actually my number 2, simply because of if you have not looked into I think they did a short that kind of explained how they made that movie. it was one of the earlier movies, so that was actually not CGI. It is all 100% claymation, and it is one of the most amazing stories of like behind the scenes stories. I really encourage, if you haven't seen it, obviously you need to go watch it. But if you have seen it and you haven't seen the behind the scenes of like what Tim Burton and all that entire team did, definitely go watch it, because it's seriously an amazing story. Not to mention it is an amazing movie to begin with.
Yeah, I gotta say, if you pick up the Blu-ray copy, I know that's out there, which you can get for like $5.
Does it have the? Does it have
it
that?
has all that
Oh, nice.
that background stuff. Yeah, you don't need like the highfalutin collector's edition. Thankfully,
no, it's
but
it's crazy how they did that. Like it's I mean, and it's 100% like stop action. Like it's just or stop animation.
And has some great music in it too.
Yeah,
and it's just one of those things. I just remember it stands out so strong for me because it was one of the first times, like my family, my parents are addicted to Hallmark movies, which is why I hate holiday movies in general, is because it was like, oh, hey, let's watch this for 3 whole months and never get a break. And I remember when Nightmare Before Christmas came on, because I was like, oh, this is actually a movie that is quote unquote holiday movie as a kid, because obviously, you know, kids and Die Hard don't mix very well. But like as a kid, I remember watching it and being like, I could totally be like, no, this is a Christmas movie, we're gonna watch this one. And everyone was like, oh, you're following the logic, but you found a loophole. And it wasn't like the whole happy-go-lucky Santa Claus ones. It was actually, yeah. So that was that's one of the reasons it stands out so much for me, is it was one of the first times it was like, ha, I win this round.
Well, I'm gonna say, what happens when the next closest holiday gets infested into the next closest holiday, basically,
Right.
Which is funny for my top 2, actually.
Well, Bife, what's your number 2?
Okay, so I'm a real fan of Dickens, just generally. I think there's some fantastic stories that have been told by such wonderful authors, and Dickens is always a highlight for me. And so it should be no surprise my number 2 is The Muppets Christmas Carol. Classic retelling of a classic story.
Oh my god. The Muppets
Scrooge.
anything.
Of Scrooge and Bob Cratchit. Bob, of course, played by the incredible Kermit the Frog. Oh my god. I love it because it takes what is actually, like, if you think about it, A Christmas Carol is a freaking grim, scary story, right?
It
Like,
is.
getting visited by 3 ghosts during the night and ultimately being told, like, hey, if you don't change tomorrow, you're gonna die alone. But, like, The Muppet Christmas Carol is just hilarious in so many ways, and it's just so heart-wrenching at times. It's wonderful. Like, yeah, it's really, really fantastic movie.
Oh
And
my
also,
goodness.
it gets better, I think, the older that you get. So as a kid, I was watching this, and I was like, you know, whatever, it's Muppets. And now I watch it back, and I'm like, this is a freaking masterpiece. I want it. We need to watch this every year. So yeah, that's absolutely Muppets Christmas Carol for my number 2.
Oh gosh. Just Miss Piggy. Like, she's my favorite character. It doesn't matter. As soon as she shows up, it's great.
Yes.
And then also Tiny Tim.
There's
a tiny frog.
Oh, yeah.
It's good.
That's some memories. That one. Beard. Number 2.
So I have actually kind of a small tie for number 2, but I'm going to make the one really, really quick. Because I think that the other goes in line with what Blue was going to say, which is why I didn't actually pick Nightmare Before Christmas, because I knew he was going to pick Nightmare Before Christmas, because I know how Blue is.
It's amazing.
Carrying on with all of that rambling, moving on. The runner-up for number 2 was Scrooge. With oh my god, I feel terrible now. I had his name and now it is gone.
Scrooge,
the guy
or
that was in
Scrooged?
Scrooged. Yes, thank you.
Oh,
wow.
Bill Murray?
Bill Murray. I'm going to
There
go
you
turn in
go.
my nerd card now. I feel absolutely terrible. But yes, I like that movie just for the sake that it's a comedy with Bill Murray. I definitely enjoy it like every time around this point of year. Just because it's Bill Murray and he has that weird sense of, you know, humor behind him. But the actual, I think that would be number 2, which is just a little bit higher, is Rise of the Guardians.
Oh, okay.
I have not seen that one.
No,
Neither have
that's
I.
a shame because it is the animated version, if you will, of like how Nightmare Before Christmas could have gone.
That's the
but
one.
it incorporates
The different legends,
almost all
right?
the seasons.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's the Easter Bunny, it's Santa Claus, and you
Is that the one
And
that
you
Santa
have-
Claus has like the 2 arms, the
Y-
tattooed arms?
yes.
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I gotta say that one. It's
It's like a tattooed naughty and nice.
It's like
Yes.
naughty and nice or something. I have a 5-year-old, so I'm sure that within a couple years we will have watched it.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I'm surprised it's actually not up on like Netflix or anything because it was a DreamWorks film. And
yeah, that's
how
true.
much DreamWorks they actually get up on Netflix? It's kind of weird.
So much, dude.
Especially now
Yeah.
that they're losing. Anyways,
Mhm.
I'm gonna say we'll get on that tangent for the rest of the show. But yeah, it highlights Jack Frost as like the main character, if you will, and then the ultra evil, which by the way they got amazing voice actors as it is for this thing. So if you've never really watched this movie, I absolutely do recommend to go and check it out. If you've got kids, if you don't have kids. I just thought it was a really well made animated film, but it is one that I go back to yearly just to kind of watch again. It's just a lot of fun.
It's nice that they portray Jack as a good character because in so
Mhm.
many of the holiday movies, he's kind of a bad guy.
I was gonna say between the actual like the Tim Allen look at, if we want to post it that one, or like some of the other Christmas spin-offs like Rudolph. Actually,
Mhm.
they had him as like a bad guy that kind of turns into like a, well, I guess I can work with everybody sort of character.
Right.
But that's how that kind of changed. I just love how the theming went with this one, especially when all of the others are like these major appointees, if you will, of holidays. But then you've got Jack Frost, who is like, I'm basically the son of winter, and it's just amazingly well done in my mind. But anyway.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so story. Most of you know that I'm terrible about actually watching movies. I hate
Yeah.
watching movies. So
Yeah.
this
Okay.
one I've never actually finished, but it is one of the most memorable holiday movies I've ever seen. It's simultaneous, like in the same movie, I have thrown up,
What?
cried, and
What?
laughed maniacally.
Frozen.
What?
No.
Well, I mean, to be fair, that is a
Although that is pretty
legit
funny.
response to that movie. Yeah, man, where's Pins? Where's Pins?
Wait, Elf?
Elf.
Oh.
I cried in Elf. I threw up at the spaghetti candy monstrosity thing that he made and
Oh.
ate.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
And then it was Will Ferrell, so you're laughing the whole time too. And it's like, oh my God, I can't. It's just a roller coaster of emotions going on, and I can't finish the stupid thing.
This is
I thought
another
you were
movie
gonna
that
say
I have
Home Alone for a
successfully
second.
avoided.
It's actually not that bad. It's
Yeah, it's pretty
and
good.
it's got
My-
a great story.
Yeah, my son is addicted to it. Like he loves that. He actually talked my parent. He was down in Texas for vacation for a week, and apparently they found a play of it.
Mhm.
And he called
Immolation.
me. I didn't know he had gone this, and he called, and the first thing he said is like, "Dad, I'm gonna be in a play." I was like, "Oh, okay, buddy."
Okay.
Like I have no context of this statement, but sure. And my mom got on, and she was like, "We just saw Elf." I was like, okay, that makes more sense." Like, but yeah, so he loves that entire thing.
Hmm.
All right, Blue,
Okay, so
you've built this up.
I've built this up, and I know Beard. I'm so glad Beard is not in the same state because he'll probably drive over here and kill me. But as you know, as I said, I hate holiday movies, and I look
I
for
can hear
any
him getting his
excuse.
coffee
Yeah, I know,
right
I know. I look for any excuse to make people suffer that I have to because this is just the way I am. If you're going to force me to watch a movie with you and it has to be a holiday movie, well, there's no better movie to force someone to watch than the Star Wars Holiday Special. because
my God.
everyone will hate everyone else by the end of the thing. And I'm like,
Why?
thus I win the game of making you hate holiday movies as much as I do. And not to
Blue is
mention,
the
it's
Grinch.
just hilarious.
Literally.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my lord. So, okay, so my favorite thing about thinking back to that is also they got Harrison Ford to do it, but he really didn't want to. So he's just really he's not into it at all in any of the scenes. He's just giving zero shits. And it's amazing.
I mean, he didn't want to do Star Wars as it was, so him being on that one just amplifies it even more.
I remember when we first made my family watch that, and my dad looked at me and he was like, I hate you so much. I was like, it's a holiday movie.
I cannot believe I was betrayed so deeply by my own flesh and blood.
Chewbacca is a great person, okay? You leave him alone. It's
Oh
up there.
my
It's up
God.
there with the
It's
Ewok
more-
movies,
dude,
okay?
Chewbacca's kid. Wait, those exist?
Yeah. There's two of them at least.
There's 3?
There's at least
What
two of
the
them.
What
There's at least two
the
of them, and they're both hilarious. I love them because they're just like off the wall slapstick. Hang on, I'm gonna look up see if there's 2
Oh,
or
no.
3.
Oh no. While you're doing that, I'm going to let Byte go ahead and do his number one. Otherwise, we're going to be on Christmas special forever.
Oh, Christmas special is such a
Yeah,
great way
my
to
number
test
one
your
was-
friendships.
My number one was pretty simple. Like, Blue clearly stole it from the beginning. It's just Die Hard. Because, after you've seen Alan Rickman basically cheat in the first one, what's better than seeing him, get pasted in Die Hard? That's fine. It's great.
The
works
best
out.
part of that one is that the scene with him, they didn't tell him. That's his
Nope.
face of fear when he falls. That's legit
It's
fear.
completely authentic.
I miss him so much.
I remember finding out about that, and I was like, "Oh, that was an asshole move." Like that was.
Yeah.
So, total side note on that front, but you remember in Lord of the Rings, Two Towers, when Aragorn just kicks the helmet of like the giant pile of burned Urukai? Yeah, his reaction completely authentic. Actor broke his foot doing that. So it was just like an amazing moment, but that was the only shot they got to take, and it's just so freaking perfect in spite of it all.
Oh.
Oh, yeah,
Yes, there were
little
two of them. Ewok Adventure
Oh.
and the Caravan of Courage.
What the Caravan?
Yeah.
Oh,
Two
Caravan of
movies too
Courage!
many,
Yeah,
dude.
Caravan of Courage was actually the good one.
Don't speak about Caravan of Courage as though it's
Caravan of
some
the
time-honored special.
Caravan of Courage was amazing.
Was
It tri-
oh, come on. So
It
good.
tried
It was
to
better
be,
than the holiday
like-
special. Of course, that's
It
like
tried to
setting
be
the bar pretty
Labyrinth,
low.
and it just
Oh
wasn't.
yeah, no, you can't. Yeah, I mean, it definitely was trying to be Labyrinth with the what's the villain in it, the big thing that keeps trying to eat them.
Yep.
But yeah, so
I
there
don't
were
know.
two of them. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Well, that's again, as previously stated, too many.
Mhm. Beard, please redeem that Star Wars thing.
Monstrosity.
Well, on the absolute flip side of Blue, mine is actually a little bit more sentimental. I actually just got to watch it last night with everybody being home. Some of you might know on Twitter, my sister actually had the chance to come home for another month. So
nice.
I've been able to hang out with her again. She lives clear across the country, so I don't really get to see her all that much. But that being said, it is White Christmas with Bing Crosby.
Yeah.
Oh,
Good
that's
one.
a good one.
It still stands to be one of my favorites because it at least has a storyline that's coherent, I can deal with, and it isn't completely over the top. In addition to that, it is a little bit more heartfelt because you've got the military line that's kind of in there. Plus, you've got the singing, dancing, so on. Which for somebody like myself, who grew up with a good majority of musicals and so on behind him, plus also my father listening to Frank Sinatra and everybody else of that day,
Right.
that was basically what we kind of gravitated towards when it came down to finding a movie that was good tradition for us. But that one has been something that we have watched yearly, even if my sister's not here. She has still watched it over in Cali, where, you know, me and the family get to sit down and watch it together here in the PA. So, like I said, just one of those things that's more sentimental. But we make it a thing every year.
What a freaking excellent choice, dude.
Mm-hmm. Just anything with Bing.
I'm gonna say Bing Crosby being one of my all-time singers as it is. Him as a crooner in general is just amazing.
And a good dancer to boot.
To boot, yeah. Like having him and Danny up on the stage in White Christmas, like that part too. If you don't know, was not supposed to be played by Danny. That was actually I don't remember who it was that was supposed to be up there, but it was not supposed to be him. So it was a Gene Wilder situation with Blazing Saddles where they wanted to get somebody else completely, but it ended up fitting the part so well. It made the movie by having those two in there, with having Bing as like the self-portrayed or not even self-portrayed, but just in general very stoic, very matter-of-fact singer, dancer, songwriter, etc. Where you've got Danny that's up there that's more as the comic, and they just play off each other so well.
And now I'm going to make the chat riot.
Uh-oh.
What else is new?
Well, my favorite holiday movie is not a Christmas movie.
It's Die Hard.
No, it's not Die Hard.
No, that's a
Die
Christmas
Hard
movie.
is a Christmas movie.
It is a Christmas movie. Come on, guys.
It's Hocus Pocus, the Halloween movie.
That actually was in the running for me as well.
What?
I love Hocus Pocus. I love Bette Midler and Sarah Jessica. Oh God, just they're so funny. And the situation with the cat getting ran over and the animation with him like being filled back up, and it's just, I mean, there's some.
Life, have you never seen Hocus Pocus?
I'm sure I must have at some point, but I don't remember a cat getting run over. I think I would remember
my
it from
gosh.
more traumatic childhood.
Yeah, he gets.
It's so good. The
It's
animation
so gruesome,
of him,
but
like
at the same time,
the animation
Disney.
of his resurrection.
Very,
I guess.
very, very Christian.
Holiday movie, right? That's what we're going for.
Sorry, I couldn't.
But gosh, yeah. Just that book with the eyeball, it's just great. Great little animation Disney movie. Really underrated compared to how well done it was by all the actresses and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, holiday movies are wrapped up. Next week's topic.
Oh Lord.
I'm going to do something just a little weird, because this was actually a suggested one from Twitter. They want to know what your top 3 bacon incorporated foods are. So it's either bacon wrapped or bacon in it, or bacon has to be a part of the recipe.
That is a fantastic series of questions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Next week, though. Right?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
The reason she's saying that is December is going to be kind of a weird one. We're going to talk about that in the episode real quick too, that we're about to record.
Scheduling.
December scheduling is going to be a little different, just because of the holiday and everything and travel plans. But yes, next week we will do that.
Yes. Thank you guys for being in live chat with us. And thank you for the podcast listeners who are listening to it a little bit later for joining us for top 3, where we just have fun and giggle and just be silly the whole time, it seems like. And remember, everybody loves a list.
Yeah.
Someday I'll get comfortable with that.
So
Someday.
Two things I thought of, but I didn't want to bring up. The one with the inflation part with Hocus Pocus.
Right?
I thought about Roger Rabbit and Judge Doom.
Yes!
Oh my God.
That scene. Oh my God. The second, you were I forget what made me think about it, Green. Have you ever seen Mac and Me?
No.
Okay, don't unless it's the riff version from MST3K, in which case you will probably listen to the music and go, wait a minute, why do I know this? And all of a sudden you'll go and blurt out, Marty, we gotta go back to the future and stop this terrible movie. Alan Silvestri does the music for that god-awful movie, and it takes place, it's a timeline of like him actually making movies and scores. That actually came after Back to the Future. So I'm trying to think what in the world made him think that this was a good idea. And it sounds like he basically just gave him the same score from Back to the Future. It was like,
Oh my god.
wow.
It's totally legit. There weren't such
like
things
how
as
you're, like-
NDAs there.
Yeah.
You don't see this movie thing. It's like, it's okay, Beard. I probably won't. I probably won't.
I mean, again, if you watch the MST3K version, you're fine. But don't, for the love of God, watch it straight. It's like some whiskey. You just don't want to drink it straight. You want to have some ice with that.
A little bit
Take
of
it
water
off.
to let it
Yeah.
bloom.
Yeah. We'll go with that.
hmm Okay. Cool. Blue, you ready for round 2?
Oh, that's Hocus Pocus. Oh, yeah. I've seen that.
Someone Googled.
Sorry.
Someone
No.
Googled.
Yes.
Well, then.
Yeah, no, I may or may not have just Googled something. Sorry, it took me all of 3 seconds to recognize from the cover. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Them with the scary makeup and
Mhm.
the cat that gets ran over and then inflated again on screen.
I just remember watching that and being like, did that just happen? Like,
And then what was the name of the zombie guy?
oh god, I don't know. Bife has
I'm
it pulled
looking,
up
I'm
on
looking.
IMDb.
Billy Butcherson.
I don't know.
William Butcherson.
William
Billy.
Butcherson. Hmm.
He was named Billy the whole
Billy
time.
the zombie. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Was that
Nerd and Needle.
the-
She's on top of it today. Jeez.
Was that Doug Jones? Was that who he played?
I mean, look, Wiki.
Billy Butchers?
Yes. Actor Doug Jones.
Because he was in Pan's Labyrinth too.
Mm-hmm.
And Hellboy.
That's a great film.
And
Also
Hellboy.
a great film. What did he play? Rather, who did he play in Pan's Labyrinth?
In Pan's Labyrinth, he played. It's not telling me. I don't think he played the.
I don't think
Let's
he played
see.
the either.
I can't remember what the name of the fawn guy was. No, yeah, he did. He played Fano.
You mean Pan?
Fano. No,
You mean-
Fano, the pale man.
Oh, the Pale Man. Oh, that's
Mhm.
that's not a fawn. That is not a fawn.
Yeah, wasn't that the guy with the eyes? Well, oh yeah.
That's
Sorry.
not a
I
fawn.
blinked.
That's-
I blanked.
yeah,
I blinked.
very
I
different.
mixed them. Yeah, Fano is
Yeah.
the guy with the eyes, and then is it was it Viddle? No. Who? What was? Didn't they name the fawn?
Yeah, the fawn is just called Pan, dude. Unless I'm going mad, and that's not
I
correct.
am
Hang on, I'm looking this up.
completely confused now. No, because yeah, you might.
We
be
are
right.
talking
They
about
don't-
Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah. They just
Okay.
don't have. They don't have that listed on the cast. That's really interesting. That they don't have.
All right, no, I'm looking this up on IMDb too. Unless you're looking it on.
I am looking it on him. I'm like, where is it? Doctor.
I'm gonna be consumed by this question at a later.
I know
date,
this is
otherwise I feel like
really annoying me. Why do they not have? Because he was a pretty prominent part of that entire thing.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I got caught up with the chat because we're talking about Super Saiyan 4 versus Super Saiyan Blue, and this does not end well for Dragon Ball discussions. What were we talking about?
The actor
plays
who
the fawn
played
in Pan's
who-
Labyrinth.
yeah, what's the
Master.
fawn's name in Pan's Labyrinth?
Pew pew! Chew
Is it Pan?
chew!
I always believed it was Pan.
I thought. No, Fauno. Fauno is the fawn. Pale Man is the eyes. And Doug Jones plays both of them.
Really? Okay, all right.
Oh, they refer to him as Pan, but in the credits he's listed as Fauno. That makes absolutely no sense. That is why I'm confused. I'm like, oh my god.
I'm gonna say the fandom overview at least does say either Pan or Fauno, but Fauno was the credited word, or name rather. That's weird. That's really weird. That's like Hellboy, and then all of a sudden calling him Phil.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Who Doug Jones was in Hellboy as well.
Okay. Well,
so now that
solved.
Now that we have that all figured out, because I think he was the fish guy wasn't he the fish guy in Hellboy? No. Yeah, he was.
I think he was the fish guy. Yeah,
he was. Yeah, he was Abe Sapien and also the Angel of Death. So cool. All right.
Anyway, yeah. Shall we talk about dragons?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Green might be excited for this one.
I am really excited for this one.
I think we are all excited for this one.
I'm not excited for this one.
You can get out.
All right. Let me see. Let me make sure I have the right typing. Okay. Cool. All right. Here we go. Today's chat is brought to you by, well, all of your support. Through the patronage you provide the Focus Fire chat team through Podbean's crowdfunding, we are able to provide you with the weekly podcast as well as the website and other aspects of Focus Fire chat. If you have any interest in becoming a patron of the FFC, please be sure to visit our website and click on the support link. Even a single dollar helps, and for those of you who are already patrons, thank you again for your generosity. You may have heard the whispers of guardians gathering in the shadows, exploring the mysteries of this world and the worlds which surround us. We are all in search of truth. Sometimes we need to focus that search, focus that fire. And so we come together. Join us. Join the discussion. Welcome to Focused Fire Chat. Welcome back for episode 151 of Focus Fire Chat, recorded live on December 1st over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat. As always, want to give a big shout out to our live chat here with us. Thank you so much for joining us once again. Our topic for this episode is going to be a look at the updated information pertaining to the Great Ahamkara Hunt. But first, let's run through a quick introduction of those on the show. As always, this is your host, Blue Crew 86. Next up, we have our own master of social media, the one and only Green-Eyed Music Lover. Green, I hope you're doing well. How's the week treated you so far?
I am dredging. That is what this week is kind of culminated in. And
so did you actually get the title?
Yeah, I do. I have the title and I bought the pin. I grinded for like 14 hours last weekend because I had to get it done before Tuesday for resets to be able to get the little metal pin from Bungie. So yeah. I grinded for like 13, 14 hours all weekend and I got a really lucky streak because I queued in solo on Sunday and found these 4 people who had it in their heads that using their supers on the other side when they're invading was great.
Was a good idea.
Oh my gosh. And I was a dirty jerk and pulled out my sleeper and got my last 4 light versus light medals and put on that dredging title, and I haven't taken it off. And
yeah, Chad's fully supporting your. I believe the best quote so far is "Get it, Queen."
Yeah, I worked hard for that.
Well, rounding out the usual team, we have our good buddy Beard Grizzly. Beard, how are you doing?
Oh, no additional names.
No, not yet. I was going to give you a break since you had a bit. You had some drama on Twitter, and so I was giving you a break. But I was just trying to be nice.
That's fair. That's fair. But for the first week that I actually deserved the content title. So
See, look at this. Look at this. I try to be nice to you.
Well, I was going between either that response or it must be a Christmas miracle, but I opted for the other one, obviously. Anyway, I've been great. I had family visiting for the week here, or for the month. So my time has been basically, if I'm not on the show, I've been at work, and if I've not been at work, I've been mildly working on the channel, and then everything else has just been like, I only get to see you like 1 month out of the year, so hi, let's hang out. But my sister got to visit me, as I've mentioned a couple times now, from California. So it was really good to see her. And otherwise, that's really been my last month. But this past week was rough, thanks to, of course, Black Friday and my current occupation. And the recovery this year for Black Friday felt worse than every other year, and I don't know why. It wasn't like it was that busy, but it just felt weird. Anyway, that's been my last week, or really 2 weeks here.
Yeah, they extended all the sales. It was weird. Like for the Cyber Monday, I just got a notice today. They're like, Cyber Week is over. I was like, Cyber what? Like
Cyber Week.
I'm like, wait, what happened? Like we're entering into a world where there's always Black Friday sales. Like it's like, oh hey, it's January 1st, time for Black Friday.
Yeah, I'm going to say everybody's either preparing for Black Friday, they're doing something else with Black Friday. I'm just looking at it going, Thanksgiving doesn't exist for a good majority of retailers anymore as it is, so why the heck do we even bother having Black Friday? Because at this point, there is no sense in bothering with the price. You're going to get me on this entire tangent. I'm going to stop myself
I had to explain to my son what Canadian Thanksgiving was.
Right.
Oh, wow.
That was very difficult.
I'm going to say it's the same thing as like Chinese New Year. You got to explain that to some people.
He asked me about that this morning.
At the same time.
he had those little calendar stickers. He's like, look, it's Chinese, and I was like, you mean Chinese New Year? Yeah, Chinese. I was like, yes, that's Chinese. Okay, never mind. We're moving on.
Yeah. Also, I think Ziona Ray in the chat kind of summed it up best. I'm just getting old. That's all there is to it.
Aw, rude.
Well. Well, as you guys can tell, finally, once again in the hot seat as guest co-host, we have our good friend from across the pond. My name is Bife. Bife, how are you doing?
Doing really well. Doing fantastically. This whole week has just been like prototype for how I do things in the future, and as a result, I'm taking a weekend. Which is
I'm glad
weird,
to hear it.
And it feels good. And like the only thing even close to work is Focus Fire Chat that I'm doing, and that's fine because Focus Fire Chat doesn't work. Focus Fire Chat is I get to sit back and laugh with a bunch of buddies, so that's fantastic.
I was gonna say, if this is your work, you're doing something right.
Right? And I mean, yeah, aside from that, it's just like right now it's move-in chaos because I'm at like new place basically. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff that I still have to sort because of course the process can't be done in like the space of a week. So yeah, right now I'm just sort of like zipping back and forth between two different places and two different parts of my life. So that's fun. But yeah, aside from that, it's just me keeping busy. There's cool stuff on the horizon, and yeah, it's a really, really interesting time.
So many cool things because of this week coming up too. My gosh.
Oh yeah,
goodness.
You know it.
Like we're expecting these things. They call them mini expansions, and I'm just looking at what's coming up, and I'm just like, this is not mini. What are you talking about?
I think I was about to say you need to drop the first part of that word because.
Yeah, I'm gonna say they're redefining what it is that they've had for expansions here, and I'm very excited. From somebody that enjoys the portent of what game development is about, and then seeing how they're developing this stuff, and then also being a theorist at this point now as well, just seeing what they're doing is already driving me nuts. Right. I am so excited for what's to come. Anyway, I'm getting off topic again.
No, well, I was going to say,
speaking
of driving people nuts, Green had a really good cattle prod this week for
oh my God.
stirring up some frustration excitement. I don't know what the right word for that is.
I mean, it definitely got the conversation rolling, which was kind of the whole point of these Twitter polls that I end up doing for the Ask FFC. But I don't know if it was like cattle prodding necessarily. It just got people thinking, because you don't think about this. We don't talk about it in game. Do you think we've managed to kill off all of the Ahamkara save Riven during the Great Hunt? Was the question.
Which is a really interesting one, because there's points at which Shurochi during the pilgrimage patrol says if some Ahamkara are still alive, right? And that alone is enough for people to say, Bungie put that in there deliberately, there must be something, yada 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 yada, and so assumptions abound, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say it's either like one of two things on that angle. It's either them saying if, being they're not quite sure just yet either, or two, it comes down to there are still ones that exist, but maybe not in the way that we expect them to be, which I think is also the important thing to kind of keep in mind when it comes down to like the Amkar in general.
They're shapeshifters.
Yep, I was just about to say they're shapeshifters.
Well, they're shapeshifters. You've got the bones that can also speak to you, or at least can interact with you in some regard or way. Like a death of an Ahamkara is a very I think it's a broad topic to almost look into in and of itself. It could almost be a argued and debated thing that we go on for like an hour and a half as it is.
Right.
But that's the big piece that I think is so important about that line that you brought up. Like that's their death is. How long have you and I been arguing that? Actually, that was actually the first video that I think you had kind of looked at of mine.
Right.
And how I was like, I don't think they're done or otherwise are all gone. And with the other little bits and pieces that could exist with them in the 9, like I think they're either being sheltered, always have been sheltered, or they're point in case just staying away from us because they know what might happen if they see another one of us. And then, of course, they see Riven, and we go after her, and she just happens to be in a causal loop of something that we still don't know.
And then, let's not even forget about the fact that, yet again, Shurochi has lines about that too. It's like, there's so much speculation on the actual origin of it all. So she says, it's basically words to the effect of, some people think the Awoken brought the Ahamkara with them first, but if you ask me, they came from the 9. And meanwhile, everyone is just looking at this being like, oh, we don't want to go down this rabbit hole. Oh, we'll be consumed by this for days. So, yeah.
Suddenly, the distributary was actually the home planet or home place of the Amkara. Ah!
Oh god, no.
And then you have to think about, like, well, what is that? What are the implications for that, right? Because then there's further stuff you need to think about with Books of Sorrow, and whether the Ahamkara you see with the Harmony are actually Ahamkara, or whether Wish Dragon is like a broader term that just happens to like define those beings, or something even further than that, or basically like being able to call that for what it is just like rumor and superstition. Like, the point is, with something like that, you can so wonderfully just leave a very a really nice open format for all of that. You just let it do its thing, I think, over time, and keep an open mind to it. Especially now that we know that the Ahamkara, as you say, are shapeshifters. Like, wonderful.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite, I don't want to say addition, but you understand what I mean. The favorite thing we have most recently discovered about them, because it broadens so much, right?
Well, we had
so many things.
We had little to nothing on them previously as it was, or at least like a base physiology aspect of them. And now to know that they can do that just opens up so many different doors that allow for us to say, well, how many things were influenced by the Ahamkara over the ages? Can they take human form? Can they change out what we end up doing? Can they take on a different form altogether? The sky's the limit in terms of that. I think back on and I know we're going to get there, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit. My favorite Great Hunt reference is the one with Praedyth Kabir and Pahanin.
Yes! Oh my god, yes!
The Wild Hunt.
Yes, I just call it the action movie scene. Like, that's exactly what it freaking is.
I mean, they're listening to Hell's Bells. I mean, they're
Right.
That was
It's
the other great thing. I posted that because we do the weekly or the daily tweet or for quotes and stuff every week based off the topic, and I put the Wild Hunt up there because it's talking about the Ancient Earth song like thrumming, and it like started this giant debate on whether it was AC/DC or Queen or. It was like there was a lot of opinions about what song they were listening to while they were hunting.
right. Well, and there's also the Vex the scannable on Nessus that talks about them listening to classic rock and everything too. And I'm just like, oh god. So at least some of the classics survived. That's good. Anyway.
Well, I know it was really, it's always entertaining for us to get those kind of like, I don't even want to say like hot button topics, but like they're kind of like getting the conversations kind of going. Even on Twitter, where I know it's difficult to have very in-depth conversations sometimes. But I know obviously everyone here is looking forward to diving into discussion. So we're going to run through our standard intro notes and then we'll get right into it. In our last episode of Focus Fire Chat, we discussed the Wall of Wishes. If you ever miss an episode and would like to catch up, please be sure to check out focusfirechat.com for archives, articles, and links to the other aspects of Focus Fire Chat. If you don't mind, please rate and, if you can, review the show on iTunes, Podbean, or whichever podcasting app you use to enjoy podcasts. Reviews are extremely helpful as they not only let us know what we can do better, but help us stay up on the charts, which helps others find our amazing community. To those of you who have already taken the time to leave us a review, thank you. As many of you already know, Focus Fire Chat is a cross-community gathering where the intent is to offer a week-long, in-depth view of a particular subject from within the lore of Destiny and other games. This chat begins every Tuesday morning and runs until the following Tuesday, with topics decided by the group via a poll that begins every Friday and ends on the Tuesday morning of the new chat. Every Friday, at around 10 p.m. Central, we get together to stream a high-level summary of the previous week's chat for those who were unable to participate. Please be sure to also give some support to the other podcasts in the Guardian Radio Network, links of which can be found on our website. If you're a fan of lore in all its various forms, be sure to also check out thelorenetwork.com, where you can find a wide variety of some amazing content that covers a number of different titles and mediums. Our next chat is going to be a discussion on the extra lore topic for November, Fallout. However, as always, please be sure to weigh in on the poll this weekend to let us know which topic you want to discuss after that. Links to that poll can be found on either Twitter @FocusFireChat or within our Discord server. With all that being said, here's Green with a high-level summary.
Since the release of Destiny and the dawning of Grimoire, there has been a secret obsession within some of the darker circles of the community. It is an obsession shared with Guardians in-game. The desire for power and the mysterious race that granted such things. Wish Dragons. Ahamkara. Their bones granted special abilities through our exotic armor pieces. But as always, power doesn't come without a price. When the Ahamkara roamed the system, Guardians would get wrapped up in possibilities, lost in their own desires. Whether it was to fight forever or to know their own past, Guardians began to engage the Ahamkara en masse, and the Great Hunt was on. Was this hunt done to drive out the potentially devastating force? Or is it just another example of Guardians' lust for power and knowledge at any cost? Is there a lesson that we have learned? Or have we learned nothing, groping for new weapons and abilities as a toddler does new toys?
Before we jump into the information and thoughts the community had about the Great Hunt, however, let's have a quick chat about this week's Lost Lore.
Immolation.
All right, so as promised on the last episode, I am going to kind of dive into the source of power, source of sustenance, I guess you would say, for the Ahamkara, which is what we know or what is called the anthem anatheme. And I kind of mentioned this with last week's Last Lore, but I kind of wanted to dive in, like I said, a little bit more in depth with this one. And obviously the first part of that whole thing is to take it apart. So we have two words here, anthem and anatheme. Anthem is generally defined as either a rousing or uplifting song that's identified with a particular group, body, or cause, but it can also be known as a choral composition based on a biblical passage for singing by a choir in a church service. So it's got both either I hesitate to say political, but there's a ideological connection or even a religious connection there as well. Anatheme is actually connected to anathema. It's actually the French it's the French word that translates into English as anathema. It comes from Greek and it means literally suspended from the bottom up, or to pose or to place. It can also mean religious offering or even doomed to hell. So if something is declared anathema, that's where you see usually an exiling of that thing, especially within religious context. Within the French dictionary, the definition is an offering made to a deity. It's a destroyed object or immolated victim offered in atonement to a deity. One other definition that was found is a sentence of a curse against a doctrine or a person that's deemed heretical, ecclesiastical penalty of publicly cutting off someone for heresy from the community of the faithful, excommunication by cursing. So basically, the word anathema refers to reprobation. It's basically a disapproval that involves an indexing a person or even an idea. And this is especially used in rhetoric and expressions such as throwing anathema or to strike anathema, in which the point is to add emphasis to that. So the origin of anathema is religious, and according to the epoch, it actually means an offering or a sacrifice, as we kind of talked about with the French definition there, usually through immolation, which is when you light something on fire, and it's usually associated with the Greeks and the Romans. Now, since the New Testament, it generally is defined as meaning a curse of a doctrine or of a person, especially in the context of heresy. You also see it used in the English language to denote reprobation, and again, you'll see that back in the French language. So if we take those two words and we actually talk about that, it literally translates into a song of identity for a group of creatures who, through their power to dominate the objective universe with their subjective will feed upon a perverse coercion of reality to match the desire of their victims. Really quick, fun trivia note, and longtime listeners of Focus Fire will understand my humor here. Some synonyms for anthem, real quick, are canticle, carol, choral, hymn, psalm, spiritual, and my favorite one.
No.
Stop. Not again.
Don't you dare. I'll stop.
I know where this is going, and I know how this ends.
He skipped over it when he was reading the list.
I know. I had to leave it. I have to leave it for last because it's the best one.
I have not seen a tweet from that account in like a year. Do not resurrect this.
We don't want it. Nobody wants this. Stop it.
Literally, I was reading the synonyms for it. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to include this." So it's a paean. A paean is a synonym for an anthem.
It's a song.
It's a song. I know. I love it.
God. Unbelievable.
Okay, for chat listening, Mike and I had ourselves muted until we heard him start going down. I was like, no.
And we were like, okay, more important things are going on than maintaining audio discipline for the podcast. We need to put a stop to this.
Let's just interrupt the blue right here. There are moments where that has to happen.
It just cracked me up. I was actually like not even thinking about that while I was looking up the etymology of this, and I saw that and I was like, "Oh my god!" I wasn't even looking for that, and here it is.
Like, I will admit, like, much as I hate it, you kind of had to do it.
So I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" Yeah. So to go back,
you at least made pens and black.
Yeah, I think I broke. I think I broke
dozen times. So
you were a bad,
many people otherwise
person.
have been broken from that. Yes, we've done our job. I guess actually you've done your job because nobody said you had to bring it up.
So basically, it's through the granting of wishes. So to go back a little bit, when I was talking about the domination of objective universe, that's actually a quote from the grimoire, or well, not the grimoire, but the lore itself. And I'm trying to remember which one that was. It was I just blanked on which entry it was. But it was one in which they were explaining the anthem anathemy. And it's basically explained that through their granting of wishes, which is defined as the imposition of a subjective will upon an objective reality, Ahamkara are allowed to digest. So I'm going to back up a little bit. This is going to get a little confusing. So I'm going to try to go through it kind of quickly and then come back and kind of try to explain it as well. So it's through granting of wishes, which is basically when you impose a subjective will upon an objective reality. Ahamkara are allowed to digest the objective noom in their creation of the cost. Now, noom is the objective reality. Cost is the subjective will. So when they create a cost, that it allows them to destroy the noom in order to replace it, and they are allowed to digest the noom. They are, as described, and you see this, they are described in the Whisper of the Worm entry, engines which allow the desires of the wishmaker to become, quote, hedgemen over their conditions. The word hedgeman here is something, and the definition for that is something such as a political state, it's often very political, having dominant influence or authority over others. In other words, it's domination. So it is allowing a person to become domination or to dominate their objective conditions via an outside force. So, and actually, I'm gonna give a huge shout out to Captain Kex, which I don't really need excuses to give him shout outs, but I'm gonna link he has an amazing breakdown of why this is a dangerous thing on Reddit. And I'm not going to even try to summarize it because it gets, as usual with Kex, it gets very detailed and it's very well done. And I'm afraid that I won't do it service to do that. But with the Whisper of Worm, to kind of go back, the Whisper of the Worm is basically it's a creation of an item that's lusted after by the Guardians, which, if you realize, the Guardians are some of the most powerful figures in the system. And this item is born from the defeat of a supposed worm god. Zol, through the creation of the supremely powerful weapon, has come to, in a certain light, be worshipped by those who, air quote here, defeated him. The danger here is that if this is the case, in a similar fashion to the hive's reliance on their worms, we are now becoming reliant on these weapons. We are feeding the weapons through their use, and we aren't even aware of that fact, that in a way we are fulfilling a dark, self-fulfilling prophecy of becoming a potential proxy servant to the darkness in doing so. That is one of the causes of strife within that caused the Great Hunt. This is kind of the debate that's going on here. If you combine that with the description of Zol's use of our victory as a catalyst for his own metamorphosis, we could be very well feeding Zol through the totem of the weapon that was made from his former flesh, which we see within Toland kind of making fun of us within some of his quotes from the Forsaken within the Dreaming City, where he kind of jokingly laughs at us about our guardian being convinced that we defeated a worm god. He basically calls us out and just is like, ha, you think you actually did that? That's hilarious.
That's cute, dog gif.
Yeah, it's, oh my gosh, it's one of the best. And I have those quotes. I've slowly been collecting the quotes from Toland as I can find them over on our website. I'll also link that in the show notes as well for anyone who's interested in helping me build that out as well. But that is a quote that I did have on there as well. But yeah, so that is really kind of a brief summary look at what the anthem that they use for sustenance, or they kind of, this is where the Ahamkara get their power, and this is where the Ahamkara this is the cause of why we see them as dangerous, is because they are actually potentially giving creatures who are not guardians, so take guardians out of the picture for a second, they're giving people who don't have paracausal capabilities. Then you add to the fact that now guardians are finding them. So guardians are already super powerful. They already have that ability to avoid causality in a way. And now they're getting access to Ahamkara. And the Ahamkara, I don't know, I don't remember if we ever discussed this, but the reason the Ahamkara speak the way they do is it's actually a binding spell of sorts. they border the wishmaker inside the logic of the statement by saying, "Oh, blank mine, oh, wisher mine, oh, bearer mine." Those are it's a way of them binding that individual underneath their control. And so by doing that, the Ahamkara are then therefore putting the Guardians in their power,
Immolation.
which, again, Guardians are, if not some of the most powerful figures. So that's where, again, the Great Hunt is and I think we'll probably get into it with the Ghost Fragment Legends 3, as far as like kind of the summary of why we did that. But I just wanted, again, really quick to kind of dive into the anthem there. And before I go off, because I will go on and on about the digestion of Noom, because there's a lot of philosophical debates within phenomenology actually that touch about that. But I'm going to let Green kind of take over for introduction of the Great Hunt.
All right, then. I wasn't expecting this.
Surprise!
So, yay! Reason for the Great Hunt was the price for the answer that the Ahamkara provided to the Guardians was too high. So we have examples in some of the different cards or some of the different entries that we have of Guardians going out, and like there's one where somebody's having tea with an Ahamkara and they're learning about their past and like crying, and it's kind of disturbing and so many different levels within that one. And then Wei Ning is punching something forever, essentially, because, Wei Ning. But it was kind of forbidden at first, and then it kind of became a game. And then we have like the card from D1 where the warlock challenges the hunter to go and take down the Ahamkara, like they were drinking in that bar. I wish I could remember what the name of that card was, because it was...
It's Warlock 2, I believe.
Ah, yes. Such a interesting thing. The fact that Guardians, they can't resist not getting caught up in something powerful, either because they're going to go and try to gather something from them and get something from the item or the person or the being, or they are just utterly curious like hunters and just can't keep their hands out of the cookie jar. But Guardians, they could not resist the siren call of the Wish Dragon, so it was decided to remove the temptation completely. Ironically, by causing the Great Hunt, they exposed some very familiar Guardians to these Wish Dragons fairly... quite a bit, actually. Eris in particular is one who dealt with the Wish Dragons quite a bit, it seems like.
And shows up 3 or 4 times within the various tabs, doesn't she?
She's in all of the hunter cards. Every single hunter item she's in. Either speaking, being spoken about, or...
just present.
Yeah, she's there. She's in every single hunter one, which I found really interesting. Then that leads us into the originator of all the worry about Ahamkara, Legends 3.
Immolation.
Do you want to actually read this one, Blue, or how do we want to do this time? We have quite a few to go through. Blue? Oh, he's going to be right
Good
back.
answer.
Sorry, I did not see that. All right. Well, Bife, would you like to do the honors of reading Legends 3 to kick this off?
Absolutely. Sounds like a great idea. Okay, so Legends 3, also titled The Great Ahamkara Hunt. After great deliberation, it was determined that the Ahamkara be made extinct. It was not an easy decision. Power had been obtained from the bargains, and the city needed power. Knowledge had been gleaned, and the Ahamkara knew answers to questions no one had known to ask. But the price was too high, and no edict or forbearance seemed to stop Guardians from seeking them out, driven by hope or vengeance or despair. The call had to be silenced, so the Great Hunt did its work. And thus the Ahamkara were made extinct, their call silenced, their solipsistic flatteries erased, their great design, if it ever existed, broken Of this you can be assured, O reader mine.
And hence the craziness began.
Yeah, sure. Totally dead. Completely dead.
Nope, he's dead.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh, reader mine. Anytime that shows up in any way, shape, or form in Grimoire, everyone freaks out.
Yep. With good reason.
True. True. And I actually believe my very first video I ever watched about lore was about Ahamkara. Fun little history fact. But this card here just kind of even talks about the fact that it says they're extinct. It says we hunted them down. But did we?
Right. I mean,
Did we?
needless to say, in Forsaken, we are obviously proven wrong, but there's an even grander point to be proven beyond just that, having known what the bones of an Ahamkara can do.
Right.
So, yeah. I say bones as though it's just that. Well, the remains generally is probably a more accurate phrase.
That's true. And the fact that we have more than one item in game that can whisper to you, not just the Ahamkara bones, brings to light other questions about the relation between some of the whispers that some people hear about the hive and the weapons of sorrow, which granted we have not seen a technical weapon of sorrow in D2. But some of the same characteristics are there.
Right. I think the closest we end up getting is, what, Whisper and Malfeasance, probably? Although Malfeasance is less hive and more just taken darkness generally.
Right.
True. But that leads us...
saying Whisper can be argued based on, what it's actually made of, or if it had any basis in a weapon from like what we had versus what the Hive had created of it. If it was ever created by the Hive, or if it is just it's just Zol. All right, here's what I'm thinking. It's just Zol looking at the gun going, well, Guardians use these. Here you go.
Right? It's like, what was powerful previously? And then it just takes this great slideshow reel of us using Black Hammer and Black Spindle to defeat various false and true gods.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Does it remind you of Touch of Malice in any way, shape, or form?
Yes, of course. And it's
Gaul
one of those...
broke those.
Okay, it's a total side tangent. I don't want to go into it, but I always wondered what the implication of breaking Touch of Malice was. It's a very open-ended little bit of the story that's just kind of like, oh, so what happened to this thing that supposedly contains the last remnants of one of the greatest gods to plague the system? Oh, that broke during Gaul's attack. You'd think that we'd be a little bit more panicked about that, right?
I'm gonna say, does that release Oryx back into the Nether, that he can come back to us in some way, shape, or form, except more powerful because of the fact that we then ended up putting in all of his other minions into the same exact spherical thing, and then they pop back out along with him?
Which, if so, is bloody terrifying.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, cool. So that's just roaming the system again. It's like the potential loose canister of Siva that's out there somewhere. Just, okay, cool. That's horrors we may have to deal with at some point down the road. Nice. Sounds great. Fun.
But that takes us into some of the different weapons, speaking of, that actually use the Ahamkara bones this time around. Or at least one of them does. Doesn't Thousand Voices actually have the pieces of bone within it?
It does indeed. Although I think you could potentially make an argument purely from the surface of most of the raid weapons that, except for Tekken Force and the Supremacy, that some of them are actually just made and crafted with the bone itself, which you could maybe look at, but it could also just be like, hey, this is a generic kind of like Mother of Pearl-esque Dreaming City material, which, it's very much open debate on that one. I feel like it's up to what you see in the texture, but yeah, there's nothing that can confirm or deny either of those things. So leave it hanging. Thousand Voices, though, I think is really clear.
Yes.
Especially if we look at the ornament, though, too, which I find funny because it now looks like a fallen thing. I'm just like, excuse me?
Okay. All right, then. Well,
Have
that's a
any
thing,
of you
right?
guys experienced this in the wild? Do either of you have 1,000 voices or have been shot by 1,000 voices?
I think I've been shot by it once. I used 1,000 Voices once on someone else's account while I was playing Destiny with the T1 guys. So I actually am in this very sad position of not having it. What I have experienced, however, is the 1,000 Screams or 100,000 Screams. I'm not sure how we'd label that one.
Well, I think they labeled it with the ornament because they called it
What, one terrible scream?
One terrible scream, yeah.
Which it's just, by the way, it's well done, Bungie. GG. Well played.
No, say they memed themselves. I'll take it though.
I just love how 1,000 voices. We have Riven herself having multiple voices at the beginning of the raid, and then we get this gun that has that title.
Yeah.
To be. I don't know if you guys have ever been to a choral concert where there are a couple hundred people up singing at you. It is immense.
A little overwhelming.
Oh my gosh. To be a part of that as well is quite interesting. But the amount of sound waves hitting you, even though each one person cannot create so much sound, the culmination of everybody focused like that, you can feel it in your chest. Especially when you get a bunch of guys up on stage. It's really, really immense.
Well, it's also like when an old tube TV falls and breaks. I don't know if anybody has ever experienced that, but it's like if the vacuum tube explodes, it literally feels like everything got sucked into that vacuum tube. Like everything around you, the air around you contorts. And it just feels like a bomb went off. Pew! Like that's how bad everything feels with that.
Indeed.
Totally. So
it's been so long since cathode ray tubes. Yeah, that comment was okay. Anyway, moving on.
It's okay. I had to think about it for a second. It's just like, all right.
Yep.
But 1,000 Voices, its thing is it's talking about language as a virus.
Yeah.
Which we have show up as in different aspects in Destiny, within Failsafe possibly having a virus within her, but the fact that you can literally create a virus that infects your mind. When you hear something, the thing that comes to mind is one of my classmates back in high school used to say that when somebody sneezes, somebody else in the room is thinking about Abraham Lincoln. Totally not factual whatsoever, but I've never forgotten that. It's just that stinking earworm that once it gets in your head, it never leaves. Every time somebody sneezes, I can't help but think about it at this point. Oh my gosh, Blue, you
Why,
are mean.
Blue? Why?
You are
Why?
mean.
For context, for people who can't see our private show chat, Blue has just posted, after the minute that earworm was mentioned, Blue posted a gif of Daddy Shark. And I can hear that gif, and it's terrible.
I mean,
a single word will drive them to rage.
Talk
about a viral language of pure meaning. There you go.
Daddy Shark is the darkness. Okay.
Yes.
It's confirmed.
Oh my god.
God damn it.
I was waiting for that one. Oh, it makes me
This
so
is
happy.
why he set me up to do the first one, by the way. He set me up.
Language is a virus. Oh, yes, it is. Do.
Do you just sit there every week? Like, I imagine you now in like an evil villain's lair, just being like, and then when Blue, then when I leave, I'll be muted, and inevitably, Green is going to have to mention viral language, and she may use the phrase earworm, and if she does, oh, I've got her.
I mean that's pretty much between me and Blue all the time. We're trying to have like top meme spot.
I just love this one because it's exactly that. And the thing is like this is a good explanation of language as well. As far as like, what will get the random things that get stuck in your head. you know, like the Baby Shark or the Daddy Shark song, you know, the one terrible song from your high school years that you will suddenly get stuck in your head, you know, or something like that. Or like that one quote that just always bounces around. You know, there's always something that does infect your mind in the sense of like it just gets stuck there. And what 1000 Voices is talking about is that single word that will, and it says the language is a virus that infects the minds of humans. A single word will drive them to rage or lust or weeping. Oh, for the right words said in the right voice. Oh, to see their hearts well with longing. Oh, to see their desire lay bare in their chest, so juicy and succulent for the taking. And so that's kind of tapping into what we were talking about a little bit with the anthem, right? Is that this is how they get them addicted to this kind of concept, is this like this constant needing for feeding of this addiction and this needing for that particular longing or that desire. And, you know, that's where you see with Riven, especially, you know, like you guys were saying, this is Riven. This is also, Riven is also the Ahamkara that Mara kept away from the Awoken. And, you know, when the Awoken, or when Aldrin was talking to her, Riven actually kind of perked up. There's a particular entry in the I think it's the Awoken of the Reef, where where Riven kind of like perks up because Aldrin is saying something and Riven can taste the desire, and it kind of wets the tongue of that particular Ahamkara. So there's like this kind of really, I don't know, I find it fascinating. The source of their particular source of sustenance is that kind of immaterial material thing. But yes, also Baby Shark.
They are the ultimate trolls.
Great. Now every time I think about Riven, I'm going to think about Baby Shark.
Why would you do this? I'm a
done.
raider.
I am done. My job
The
here is
face,
done.
the
The podcast is over. You guys have a great week. Bye.
Oh my god, no, you're right. You're right, Green. I can't think of Riven's face without...
With the layers of teeth,
Yep.
just like a shark.
So here's the thing. I don't rate life. I'm sorry that you had to be here for this show.
The more you think about it, the more
it makes sense. The more it makes sense. It's a problem.
God damn it. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Focus Star Chat ruining your lore canon since 2013.
I swear to God.
I think we got to get Issachar that one for a bad Destiny joke.
There you go.
Grief.
Oh my God. No, that's that I could see.
That's right there. That's
Can you imagine that? No, it'll be perfect. It'll just be freaking it'll be Shirochi being to like Guardians. Whatever you do, don't listen to her. And then it's just gonna be a siren in all of the Guardians' heads singing
Like I said, done. Podcast is over. You guys have a great week. Bye.
Let's move on to Shattering Bone before we get stuck on
Quickly.
1000 Voices
Please.
forever.
Shattering Bone's a good one too. I like all of these are really cool because, you know, again, it's actual scenes from The Great Hunt. Like I love that. I love the veil being lifted a little bit and us seeing like not just seeing, you know, these guardians whose names we know and, you know, we already have our own opinions of, but like and to see more of them, but also to see like what their, you know, desires or what their characters were really looking for and kind of how they respond to them, because each one kind of responds to it differently.
Not to mention as well, it's just the variety of fire teams that you end up getting and a lot of the weapons and the armor. It's staggering because it shows you the scale of the Great Hunt too. You know, this was some of, quite literally, I don't think I can be hyperbolic when saying this, the most notorious and the most famous Guardians. I mean, you had everyone from Shinobu and Eris and some of the lesser known figures to general players, but really famous ones in lore terms, like Pradith, who are just in the hunt, in the thick of it. And then you have some more recognizable names, such as Lord Shaxx and Commander Zavala. And it, everyone was a part of this, practically speaking. It's astounding to see the scale of it.
I still like Takos, which I think is Apex Predator. Taika's like response. It's Taika and Galida, and Taika's like, "Can we please just shoot it?
Just kill this thing." Meanwhile, I love that one so much as well because of all the background lore of Pocket Infinity.
Yeah,
That's a discussion for when we actually get to it, I think. But yeah.
So Chattering Bone is the pulse rifle. Yeah, pulse rifle. It tells you how much I pay attention to the actual mechanics of this game. So Chattering Bone is the story of Nadia and Shinobu, which are two of the guardians, like we have just been saying. And this is actually I would almost say this is a contest of wills insofar as Shinobu is speaking to her mother. And so this kind of goes into also the taboo nature of guardians looking at their past, right? And looking into their past. So because we know that Shinobu remembers her name from a journal that she had on her at the time of her death, similar to Bray and her what was it? The identification card.
Tag?
Yeah, IT tag.
Yeah.
And so this is where you kind of see, again, another guardian kind of, looking into their past. And we'll also see this with Eris as well. But this is Nadia. They're having tea. They're sitting across from. It's just, oh my gosh. And it escalates very quickly. But it's just it's like a very brief glimpse into this little tea party that they're having. And Nadia is basically trying to just be patient, and Shinobu is having the desire from Shinobu is obviously that her mother would be there to tell her of the past, and they're telling her a story of how they couldn't get her to take off a dress to get in a bath or something, I think is what it was.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's that. We had to tackle you to get the thing off you to get you to bathe.
Your brother called you stink bug.
I mean, okay, as a young girl, I can relate to this though, because you find that one outfit and you want to wear it all the time. My sister did this with a swimsuit, a particular Little Mermaid swimsuit. She wore it all summer long, and it was one of those things you kind of had to chisel it off of her. But the fact that the serpent, the Ahamkara, takes the shape of the mother is the creepiest part of this whole card in my opinion.
I can't help but I have like this, and it's helped near the end where it says her mother just smiled again, all teeth and secrets. I just feel like like the darker versions of Little Red Riding Hood with the wolf as the grandmother. And, like the anthropomorphized figure of a wolf dressed up as the grandmother and like the teeth and the darkness and all this stuff. That's kind of how I feel like this kind of is going on, is like it's a human figure, but it's not a human. And and then of course the end of it is Nadia unloading unloading clip after clip, it feels like, into this serpent. So this,
to be honest, it makes the entire thing more tragic to a certain extent, because it's just it's the most painful of reminders, and that's the total cruelty of the entire thing, and it also goes into their
ingenuity of staying alive. They find that weakness and they twist the knife just a little bit to make sure that they aren't there, which is also explains why all of these are going to be pairs, or if there's always more than one guardian, and it seems like the one guardian is for better or worse the bait, and the other one's there to actually do the job. So for instance, Shinobu is the bait and Nadia is the hunter. if you will.
Right. With maybe the only exception to that particular rule, where it's just, it's not exactly bait as in completely defenseless, being Saladin, if I'm not mistaken, because he wishes to fight a dragon.
The
and then he
dragon.
goes and fights a dragon.
Are you serious?
Right? And it's one of those things where it's like you could say, oh, compare it to Wei Ning, but no, like really, in this one instance, it's totally different for the fact that, like this is not one of those things where Wei Ning is wishing to punch things for all eternity. It's just one of those like, yeah, I am a knight. I want to fight a dragon. Haven't you heard the stories? Which again, by the way, I've got to highlight. That's a fantastic one. Go read. I'm trying to remember which one that is.
That's Transfiguration.
The scout rifle.
Yeah.
Yes, which is
actually
next.
I was about to say, which actually is the next one. So Green, I know.
Aphrodite.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm pretty sure this is the Aphrodite one.
Yeah, this one's the Aphrodite one.
But
You can do it, Beard.
okay,
You do it.
all right. Do we want to read them? Is that what we're doing? Or just talk
Summarizing
about
them at
Which
this
is
point.
summarizing. That's what I figured. Transfiguration is the funniest of them all, I would argue to say. Mostly because it is Aphrodite, and we all know that I love Aphrodite very much. Some of you may take that too far, in which case you are wrong. So both Aphrodite and Saladin are fighting an Ahamkara, and I don't know, like the back and forth between these two really makes them more and more human as we kind of go by. Like these two seem more human than most other Guardians do within what we have seen within Destiny as a whole. And I think that is one reason that I really do enjoy the Aphrodite character, is because she takes the humanistic aspect of being a Guardian and really does bring it more to the forefront of what I would hope to see. But that being said, her and Saladin are going back and forth, and I think the line here just kind of throws the whole thing in perspective. Why, in the Traveler's Crack, did you wish to fight an actual dragon, old man? To which Saladin, bringing up his massive axe, looks to Aphrodite and says, "We are knights, Lady Aphrodite. Do you not want to be a dragon slayer?" In which, of course, he says, "We are what we survive."
Mm-hmm.
I love this little line. I think, though, it does showcase a little something. If all of these hunts are meant to be during the Great Hunt itself, that would say that the Great Hunts may have taken form or during a time period where the Iron Lords were still kind of a thing. I don't know if I really want to read it that far, but I have a feeling that that's what they were going for.
I mean, it's not even just that, but it's also the fact that when you take the Great Hunt into account and then compare what Aphrodite is doing to what she does now, the pacifism is the real linchpin for that entire theory, right?
Right. I'm going to say her being a combatant versus somebody that is not, and it would have had to have taken place before the Heavy Siva incident, which by possibly what we may have seen could have been something that was happening on the very edge of the Dark Age, but still where the city was partially pretty well built up or being built up. But yeah, that's where I think we're kind of at per the moment with this one. Timeline is still a little bit fuzzy, but it's at least a little bit more coming into focus just based on these couple cards for the Great Hunt.
I do want to pose a question to everybody about this card.
Uh-huh.
There is another entry about the Great Hunt where we go to, or one character goes to the Woken to try to get weapons to fight the Ahamkara.
Oh, this is Joxer, I believe?
Yes.
Joxer. I love Joxer.
So Joxer goes and gets weapons. In this card, Saladin says, "That's why she gave it to me. I'm the only one." Now this is spin foil, just supposition. Would you suspect that Saladin got his axe from the Queen or the Awoken to help hunt the Ahamkara?
Ooh.
That would be interesting given the adornment that is all over said axe. That would almost say that the Iron Lords were helped or tempered by the Awoken from day one.
Which then has really interesting implications for the timeline, because there were the Awoken that left in the second Rivening.
Yep.
And
which would explain where those axes came from.
And the Awoken would have to be back because isn't Eris a former Awoken?
It's not clear what her race is. She does have a relationship to the Queen, but it's not clear whether she's human or Awoken.
Yeah, and I mean, like, arguably she could be a human because
they did have interactions for sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think I'm trying to think of anyone else that he could be referring to, and as far as like giving it, you know, as far as giving an axe, like giving a weapon, we do know that the Tetuans had gifted Joxer with a crate of weapons. Now, that being said, it was kind of inferred or implied that that crate was full of firearms.
They were also supposed to get it back.
Yeah, they were supposed to bring it back after they were done. And also,
who think that actually happened?
Yeah, which is really the other interesting thing is that crate of weapons was created by Riven.
With the expressed purpose of hunting down the Ahamkara.
Right? Because Mara was obsessed with not necessarily getting rid of the Ahamkara, but making Riven the only Ahamkara that they were aware of. That goes back to the unique power.
Right.
That almost makes me think of a, if you will, an AK-47 situation. If you're familiar with the AK-47 and how far into human technology that weapon catapulted us, the whole thought and premise is that because of the time period of that weapon being produced by us, it happened right around the time of like Roswell and everything. The thought is that it was given or kind of birthed from alien technology. Now that almost makes me wonder about some of the foundries like Amalon and so on, if they picked up on some hints and tips from those weapons. Then that's a good thought.
And then it's even more interesting considering some of the contexts in which you also see Guardians like Joxer. I mean, on a personal character note, there's the few Drifter cards where he's basically just like kind of allows the Drifter to just like grab a weapon shipment, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
I believe that's Joxer as Redrix.
Joxer, Joxer, because they were trying to put the frames back together.
Yeah. Like it's one of those things of like it's really not out of the possibility just based on character interactions, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
Reading chat. Yeah.
Now I'm stuck on an old theory of bearded eyes about alien technology. Oh god.
Yeah, I know.
Why did you? All right. Anyways, before we start moving that one on, let's jump to Age Old Bond, which is, oh my gosh, I love this one. Which is also the quote. Well, the song is hilarious, but like the quote on this one is also really interesting too, because it's symbiosis, not predation, a wary one mine. So it's interesting because symbiosis is not always mutually beneficial. There is predatorial symbiosis. So it's like, is it tricky? Is it a tricksy little hobbits, or is it just, what is it going here? The scenario here is what we're calling the Wild Hunt. Praedyth, Kabir, and Pahanin. So this is taking place arguably before. Actually, I'm thinking, no, you know what? I just had the random thought. We couldn't say that this is before the Vault, because this could be part of a wish of one of the three. One of the three could have wished for their fire team to be back.
I didn't even think about
literally just came. And because, and this is my problem, because the ending is beneath the song, Pradith heard static, like a comm signal. Best not to think about it.
Immolation.
Pradith wished again, and the hunt went on. Pradith
so
is
it's
stuck.
a causal loop.
Yeah, Pradith is caught in the Vex thing.
Whoa.
Meanwhile, we've got an Ahamkara that is also stuck in there. Is that what we're
Well,
postulating?
I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's that, but I almost want to say now I'm reading this as like, because at the beginning of it says Pradith wished hard, wished it would never end.
Right. So
and
if you wish once before the vault, there's no reason why this couldn't have been one of those things of like, okay, now you're trapped in time forever. Here is your wish fulfilled, and it's just reliving this particular memory of the hunt over and over and over.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if an Ahamkara was in the vault?
I mean,
oh my god.
Yes, but I don't want to.
I'm gonna say suddenly we see what happens with like a Riven character and how she handles being taken and how she can take that to her advantage. If we have an Ahamkara that can then take advantage of the same powers as Atheon, that would be insane.
It's just like, okay, yep, that's
the other
terrifying.
thing the other thing is that that actually brings to light the quote here, because if it's symbiosis, it's Pradith, and it could be like chat is right here. I think who was it? Wicked is saying or he had a bone. If Pradith has a Ahamkara bone and is stuck in the Vexel loop, it's a symbiotic relationship here. They're both keeping each other in a way alive. And so there's not predation going on from the Ahamkara.
Right.
It's literally they're kind of like, I don't know. To be fair, I haven't thought this through because it literally just kind of came to me when I was reading that again.
But no, that makes sense. Honestly, it really does. Because if you're in that particular state, you don't necessarily want to be lost in any part of time that you're not.
And
right?
Dino, that's right. Dino
right?
just said that. Dino says the wish could have been cast before the infamous vault run, and that's why Pradith wasn't just deleted.
Here's another interesting thing. How do they have a classic song from Old Earth?
Well, I mean, again, that's kind of
just...
like Beard was saying the comment on isn't it Nessus with
It's
classic
on
rock,
Nessus,
which is where Vex
it's
are.
Underneath it's like the Undercroft area in the one public event. If you hop up on the one cliff and you do a scan, it says the Vex are listening to some old classic rock. At least they have good taste. I just always found that one funny.
Right, and now you have a driving bass line of a classic song from Old Earth, and underneath the song you hear static like a comm signal.
Like it's an old echo being sent out.
My brain
Doesn't matter, like
signal.
an old radio or something like that.
I think I just broke my brain.
Yeah.
I think you broke chat.
Oh my
I
god.
think you killed us, like, at this point. Like,
a single iPod could have been preserved.
Oh my god.
Wait a minute. Guardians of the Galaxy says what?
Oh my gosh, yes.
So what's that old line from Rahul in Destiny 1? It's like, old age data pad, once again, filled with smut. It's just like,
I love it.
What is it? I can't remember, but I know it's
something
just...
like he translated it and he was like, oh, that's just more. And I was like, oh my god.
It's like indignation because it's almost as though it's happened multiple times.
Right.
It's just like we had an entire society and this is what survived.
Right.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Meanwhile, it would, if that is the case, though, just to kind of harp on this a little bit further, if it is the case that Pradith was able to take that wish with him into the vault, and he was still able to be fed off of through that symbiosis, poor Pahanin, poor possibly Kabir, because if they're also laced in with this whole thing, then that would also kind of bring up some possible words.
Well, either that or they're just mirages, because he wished his fire team back.
Well, the ironic thing
Mm-hmm.
behind it would be that Praedyth would be the one that would have been lost to time that we know of, at least throughout the whole of that endeavor. Meanwhile, Pahanin is said to have lost his light to Dredgen but not necessarily lost his life to Dredgen.
Right. True.
So I'm wondering if how like Pahanin could have also been influenced by it or otherwise. But I know we don't really have much that showcases like he was still there as within this thing outside of a mirage, as you said. But yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
If
again,
a
this
Ahamkara can go through Vex technology like that,
well,
that has
but again, we have
some,
him described as imposing subjective will on objective reality.
well, and it's as close to magic as you can find within a good majority of it, which is why I think we still hold to this idea and whole concept of like Ahamkara and Worm Gods being so similar. But the way that Ahamkara do it is, of course, very different without having to impose the actual will inside of a being a worm symbiote, versus an Ahamkara that can literally just feed off of like brainwaves. And that would cause some interesting ideas, period. But then the other question comes down to if Praedyth was also stuck within that loop the way that he was, when was it that he had broken himself of the wish, or were we the cause of that at one point or another in order for him to then communicate with us? There's, I don't know, a few extra layers in there, of course, we'll have to kind of dissect.
Mm-hmm.
My brain hurts.
This is a confusing one.
This
like,
one,
period.
yeah. There's a lot of
Yeah.
possibilities in this one. I feel like we're going to be coming back to this one.
Yeah, because I had thought very similar to what you had done too, just with the just with the idea and so on of like the comm static and everything. Because that was my first thought too. Like this is him in the vault, and I'm like, why?
Yeah, it's like but like, and then it goes back to the question of like, if it's him in the vault, how?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be coming back
But
to that one.
also, there's potential for it to have been... Okay, so this is going to be one of those points at which I maybe take it a little bit further, so jump in and, like, correct me on this one, but there's no point at which we can tell what time it is. And that sounds like a dense statement prior to that.
That's true.
But all I mean to say by that is simply, we don't know if this is before he was rescued or after he was rescued. And we also... If I'm going to be completely honest, like I feel like it's fair to say this, we don't know what him being rescued has technically sort of done, and it really wasn't rescue so much as just remembering him. So it's just,
Well, I do like Dino's point though, because if this was a wish that he had made inside the Great Hunt, and so like, you know, let's say he made this wish that it would never end, because that seemed to be the wish. And then he had a bone from that hunt with him in the vault. Then technically it would never end. Like, I mean, there's a lot of like looping possibilities there as well.
Oh, they had so much fun writing this one.
I know. Oh my god.
You can just tell, dude. You can just tell.
Well,
God,
and then the other implication of like Praedyth being saved beside is the soul or otherwise the only thing that is needed for an Ahamkara to impose its will.
Right.
That just adds on to another layer of like what is going on.
Yeah, and then it goes back to your question too about, is the Ahamkara are they even able to penetrate the you know, and that brings up an even bigger question about, is it actual time travel? Like, are we in a multiverse? Like, you know, that whole argument as well.
Right. I'm going to say, can they pierce the veil of time? Can they act as Gorgons in a way? Can they act as Atheon? Is there something else that really kind of teams with them between the thought that we had before of the distributary, or perhaps of them being very closely related to void dragons and so on? Like that's still the issue with Ahamkara as a whole, is that we understand a little bit more of their physiology with them being shapeshifters the way that they are, but that's about as far as it kind of goes. Like, we know that they can take on so many ways, but how they can still influence those elements is still just, well, they do it with their mind. You know, and I can kill you with my mind. You know, it's a river moment there for a second. That's about as far as it kind of stems, as far as I am understanding from everything that's kind of showcased so far. So again, points back to what I had said before, where I wonder if they are now yeah, goodness, if they only need like the spirit of a person to impose their will on them. That's what I kind of wonder.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What-
Because
what-
again, you're totally
what
correct.
happened
It's
with
very
Stream? What happened with Stream actually? Because I think we're hosting Green now.
Oh, they did.
Oh, I broke it. I'm sorry. I broke
Doggone
it.
it, Green. Doggone it. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to stop.
Green's like, this is my stream now.
Yes, my empty screen. That's all you get.
You thought you could get away with your pain jokes? Well, joke's on you.
I know.
Yeah.
I
Oh
would have
well.
gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you meddling kids.
This is why I don't get
And your
mod
damn dragon.
commands. No, Beard,
I think I
Blue
fixed
doesn't
it.
give me. Yeah, I think you did too. It's back. Oh my
Okay.
goodness! Somebody make a wish on a dragon.
I wish this stream will last forever.
No.
We can make.
To
that
be
happen.
honest, that's a very dangerous. Yeah, that's very dangerous. Whew. Okay, right.
So
Oh my gosh. So before we go down that rabbit hole too much more, Nation of Beasts. This is another kind of
standoff.
cult following guardian here with the Lu Fang and is it Orosis or Orosis? How do you pronounce that one?
Urus.
Urus.
Yeah.
That one, Big O.
The Sunbreaker leader, right?
Sunbreaker.
Yes. So it is
Third
the,
Imperial Magistrate.
Yep,
Mhm.
and then also the terrible naming inventor of all the weapons that the weapons and armors that we get there.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was because they renamed the Sunbreakers to what do they? I don't know.
Sunbracers.
Sunbracers.
Sunbracers, yes.
Just got some angry titans.
Angry Titans,
Yeah.
and then it's the Sunshot. Oh my gosh, Lu Fang.
Yeah.
The grief that they gave her, it's just like, what? It's
It shoots the sun. It's
yeah.
like,
Yeah. It's like, can we come up with some better names here? Maybe. No. All right, that's fine.
This is what I refer to as the Conan scenario. It's a room full of mirrors, and they have to shoot everything, just like Conan the Barbarian.
To figure out which one's the real one.
Mhm. And then like I don't know. I don't really like. I think they get bored. Is kind of how I read this card. Is like Rose is she's just like I'm done. Like this is dumb. Like they can't teach us anything.
Oros's solution to the whole thing, and then Lu Fang is just like whatever kind of thing. Like I don't know, whatever. Because could you feel the heat of the forge on my skin?
Lu
Type-
Fang's just like, I just make guns.
Yeah.
I just shot
I just-
people. I don't know.
I just work here, literally.
I just work here.
So, but this is also a point here that it was the Sunbreakers were actually involved in the Great Hunt as well. Which I mean, that's not a huge surprise given they're being mercenaries.
Yeah.
But even so, it just it highlights a very interesting point, which is how desperate the entire
right.
operation was seen as. I mean, for starters, it's you could always kind of tell because it's not really the thing for Guardians to do to order a genocide willy-nilly. And that, let's be honest, that's entirely what this was. This was genocide. But the more important point of all of that is just you have figures that have disagreed with the Sunbreakers left, right, and center within the tower. I mean, You know, it's one of these things of you found Sunbreakers who are potentially guarding Osiris back in Destiny 1, or at very least bore some of his emblems. And furthermore than that, you think about what Commander Zavala said and how they did not get along. It's
Right.
Yeah, it only shows the sheer desperation of this move. So it's huge on that front.
Immolation.
And that will
Question
bring it.
about-
Oh yeah, go for it.
About the Tyranny of Heaven, because I'm just gonna
Okay.
dive into this one. Is this the moment that she gets roped into the Vanguard dare?
This is the moment that she loses.
She
she's
loses
gone.
and dies.
She
she
was a
dies.
mentor.
Okay.
This is why everyone. Yeah, this is why everyone refers to Tallulah as a badass, because she gets eaten and she doesn't scream.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
it's so yes, this is Tallulah, Fairwind, and Caliban 8, which I love the fact that Caliban's wearing a green dealer's cap.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes me oh my gosh.
Aside from that, it's a bit of a tragic scene.
It's a very tragic scene, but it's just a random tidbit of detail that it's just like, oh my gosh.
Well, I kind of took it as to say between the two parties, Caliban was the one that was kind of just the middle
mediator?
one, if you will. Yeah. He was the versus if you look at Tallulah, the Amkara, they're the ones that are kind of going up against each other. Meanwhile, Dealer has the potential to always win.
Yeah.
The other thing is, Caliban's such a stinking tragic character. Poor
Yeah,
guy
he is.
gets turned into a crystal later on. I mean, seriously?
Hey, he
Right.
gets a fire team named after him.
Oh god.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's a tragic story as well, sadly.
Takeo.
Mhm.
Which is also another figure. I do like the fact that we get like multiple different nicknames for Tallulah between Caliban and is it Micah? Like they each have their own, like, it's almost like I don't know what it is.
Pet name type
A
thing?
pet name for their, like, because you can tell that they're all very close with each other.
Don't you do this, Lula. Don't you leave me here. I can't do it.
Wow, there's something in that makes this tragic romantic inside me just have a little bit of a heartstring moment.
Well, it also kind of tells, like, I don't know this, but I kind of read this as Caliban is the next Vanguard, because she says a dare's a dare. Good luck.
Yep.
Which
That's
I
why
guess.
So
I
that's
gotta
where
say, it
that's
would
where I
almost
was
go
like, I think like that
you
was
would-
kind of the thing, was the dare was whoever survived the the card game.
Right.
Mm.
I gotta
mean,
say,
the-
you would see it more as like, here's Tallulah, then it would be Cal, then maybe it would be Andor.
Andor, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's the case, the other possibility is that it's just literally one of those things of, as Cade puts it, when hunters make a dare or when they make a bet, they take it seriously. Like they treat it very honorably.
Right.
So it's one of these things of maybe the dare is simply something that's been made with the Ahamkara, and as a result, when she loses and she, goes all in and then doesn't have the cards on the river, that's kind of sad, and it's just like, yep, okay, I accept my fate. It's the honorable thing to do, even though the dragon is gonna eat you. It's just wow,
I'm gonna say she knew the stakes from point of start to point of end, regardless of if it was a card game or her life.
Indeed.
That's the thing, though. We don't have like a lot of entries on Tallulah, but just this one alone gives us so much about her character. It's insane. That's called well written right there.
Yeah.
That's I love this entry because of that.
Not to mention as well, it paints a really neat little picture of what the Vanguard, or rather, what Guardians would have potentially been like sometime before. It goes back to what was said in The Taken King. There are lost arts to Guardians, and sometimes we can rediscover them. And apparently
Absolutely.
archery is one of them. Not so much just in the shadow shot variant either, but just plain old-fashioned physical bow and arrow.
Yeah.
Well, and that makes sense too. because the hunter. I mean, even within Tevis's quotes about the Night Stalker from D1, it was kind of hinted at too. Yeah. So, but yeah, I love this. Tyranny of Heaven is a really good one too.
Are we going to revisit the Vault of Glass with Apex Predator?
I mean, no. Why did you say that?
It's just the pocket of infinity. I don't know what's the problem.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking back on what we just got done doing with Praetor.
I know, but look at this. The massive Vex construct that was the Ahamkara towered over them.
I also love the fact that Takeo doesn't like Galida on the fact that she has two names.
She's bored.
Yeah.
She's like, they've always been a little pretentious.
It's like I might have read this into it purely from the way that the card is phrased, but I guess I just imagined it really because there's nothing that really supposes it. But I thought of this as a Hydra as opposed to anything else. And again, I feel that's
it's possible. I mean, it's just the only thing you get is the massive Vex construct.
And
Really.
the
Well,
construct
and
shifted
the
its
plates.
superstructure. I feel like shifted is one of those words which you'd apply to the sort of. Well, even then, I don't know. That's totally
Or
that's
the-
entirely my own assertion.
Is it Cyclops? Is that the one that's the big eye?
The Cyclops is the turret, yeah.
Yeah, the turret thing. That was the other thing that I
Unless
thought
you're-
of.
Unless you're
all
also
of it.
thinking like a Panoptes type because of what we just got done seeing.
Oh,
at the
yeah.
Vortex
That's
too.
true.
Oh.
Though Panoptes would be more of a Hydra variant, wouldn't he?
He would be a variant
Kind of?
thereof, but he's like a
Yeah.
mix between Hydra and
And the
a
Cyclops.
mind.
Oh, that's true
All
because
of
the
the-
Templar was more of the
Yeah. I'm gonna say they're basically Templar-like minds, but they've got arms too. Like that's what it kind of seems like in a way.
because
so the hint for it is potentially all in the ventral plate.
Right,
Rear ventral
yeah.
plate, implying that it's at the back, but it's also on the underside. And I feel like, consider the
That's
structure
fair.
of something like a Minotaur, it's less likely. Whereas something which is close to Panoptes or something which is close to a Cyclops, yeah, absolutely.
or what was it? The raid layer was it the dog Argos.
Argos. Yeah.
Argos, yeah.
I'm
You
not,
say the
was-
dog, and I was confused, but no, absolutely the dog. It's a very, very good boy.
or Dendron. Dendron's another one, yeah, because Dendron was more of a mobile Cyclops. He was a giant
Yes,
soccer ball.
actually. Yeah. Okay, yes. No, that actually makes a lot more sense too. Either way, I think we can safely land on not a Minotaur, I guess.
Yeah, I think the other thing that this reveals is that the reason why we're seeing so many names in here is because they drew lots. So because Takeo is like, she references back to the porcelain shit she drew back at the tower, because there is no reason that she would be with Galida otherwise. She's like, oh my god, I don't want to be here. And so that's also, again, going back to the reference of like all hands on deck, right? It's not only which also goes into, you have to be with another person, because in this situation, you know, Galida is always obviously the bait, and Takeo's here is I love the ending. Girls gotta eat. Like the Takeo is the catalyst to actually make sure that something gets done. You know, I think that's kind of the two oh gosh, I just blanked on it. 2-factor authentication for the destruction of the Ahamkara, because otherwise the one alone would get caught.
Might have just gone out and grabbed power.
Yeah, you know, like Praedyth got caught in a loop.
Oh boy.
Praedyth always gets caught in loops. That's
Poor Praedyth.
But I think that's the last of the weapons, right? Or well, last of the specific scenarios.
I mean, there's a couple more raid weapons, but they're not referencing it.
Related so much. You can
Because
go
I
into
think-
something like Tekken Force or Supremacy, but even
Yeah,
then.
because the supremacy is talking about Uldren, and then Tekken Force is the establishment of the Tekkens. So it's not referencing really the Great Hunt. Then we have the armor sets, which, you know, we have a great clip of the Titan set by Beard. I really appreciate that audio clip of Beard reading the mark of the Great Hunt.
The Marax card.
And the helmet stayed on.
Mm-hmm.
I might have a little MP3 file for anyone who's interested in that.
Of course you do.
There's going to be someone out there, you guarantee. I don't know who, but
I don't know. Maybe Liz. Anyways, so yeah, and like the obviously
no.
the
Please
different
no.
the different sets. Here, really, the Titan actually really doesn't deal with a lot of the Great Hunt, as much as it's more about like the development of the Wishing Wall. The Warlock set actually kind of goes into the bargaining, again, not really so much about the Great Hunt specifically, whereas the Hunter set actually does kind of go into it insofar as it's pretty much a documentation by Eris, really, it seems, of the various different things. And you get some really cool little scenes with Eris. There's the one with Ikora, and then there's the one with Shax.
And Zavala.
Is Zavala the one with Shax, though?
Mm-hmm.
Because like
Zavala's
they're both
present, yeah.
watching Shax. They're like, what is he doing?
It actually makes me love Shax just a little bit more in that card.
Oh
that
yeah,
one
yeah.
is
Oh, I love that's
grips.
I
That's
think,
the grips.
Oh my god, and the explosion.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Is he gloating? I think he's too pragmatic to gloat.
And then Shax is like, shh.
But but that was after it blew up. Like,
yeah. As the flame quietly roared. But the other thing that's interesting about the armor set is you find throughout all of these cards the talk about the whispering.
mm-hmm.
They're starting to notice it. They don't notice it at first.
Mm-hmm.
Until it's too late, essentially. And then
and you also find that this is possibly an explanation of how she managed to survive.
Yes. The little bone that she has.
Mm-hmm. Because the cloak is actually a recollection of Eris after the Great Disaster. It actually does give us a bit of a timeline here, because it says the Great Disaster years after the hunt, and this is after the failure of the fire team against Crota. And so she actually is talking. She's out of ammo. She's, out of moves, with the exception of one. And she pulls out the Ahamkara bone. And that's when, what is it? It sounds like she's already done whatever it is that she did to her eyes. But she still wasn't able to find her way out. And then all of a sudden, assuming that was the wish that she made, that is where she suddenly found the way out, was because of a wish against the bone.
Incredible implications for all of it. But also, it makes you really wonder then, how long has Eris been inside the Hellmouth? Because there's,
she's really familiar with that particular geography.
it's right? And it's one of those things of like, she was in there for years. So it's like, was this one of those things of she knew the danger and she just decided against all sort of common sense at that point and against most fair warnings, like, okay, this is my last resort. I've just got to do this.
This also gives a clarification of timeline a little bit more.
Right.
Great Hunt happened before Crota.
Wait, yeah.
In addition to that, the side thing that I liked that they did here too, they didn't really go into how long outside of like countless cycles, both Eris and Mindbender spent in the Hellmouth. They made a specific point to keep that timeline out. So I'm wondering how long it takes for them to actually be incurred by the powers of the Hive, or how that was all influenced on them. It also showcases two different ways that it was worked out with, because both were technically like touched by light in one way, shape, or form. Eris may have lost her ghost; she still had light, but then so too does this fallen dreg that could have ended up falling down into the Hellmouth. But they both did different things with that power. One embraced it, the other feared it.
Mm. And both ended up being rather consequential in one way or another to the story.
Absolutely.
Although, without a question, Eris is far more sort of... I feel like any statement I say is now going to be an understatement, but yeah.
Yeah, I gotta say, especially with Eris, considering she's still kind of there doing things with us, even if she's not directly doing so.
Hmm.
You know, actually, something chat just said. Do you think that's where Shax got the Ahamkara skull?
I think it's possible, but again, with the previous card, I presume you mean the grips, right?
Yeah. Sorry, where he's like sitting petting it while it's dying, because he has the giant dragon skull above.
Right.
He still has it. He's had it for a while now. So I was just.
I mean,
Shay
I'd
said
agree
that
if
in
it
chat.
wasn't. I'd agree were it not for the Shax sat silently in the resulting crater line, which
That's true. It
sort
did kind of
implies there's
blow
not
up.
much left.
It did kind of blow up on him, or it could have been
So,
like
I mean,
the Skyrim, the Skyrim
of,
disintegrations.
Speaking of that dragon that has been there since D1, how did he get it out of the tower again?
Oh, what, you mean the old tower?
Yeah. Did he just go in afterwards and scavenge the thing and put it
It's
up again?
Shax. That's probably exactly what he did. And
or
everyone...
does he have he's got this whole room of just Ahamkar skulls off to the side?
Isn't that in Game of Thrones? They have that underneath.
Oh, yes.
Isn't that
underneath the
where they have all the
underneath
skeletons
the
or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
See, I did read
Last
the
of
first
great
book.
Dragon was born. Its skull was the size of an apple. Yeah, I can see. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because the vest is where you get Wei Ning's insanity.
Where she's just punching and punching and punching and punching.
Yes.
Eris,
And Eris
please
is like,
stop, you psychopath.
Yeah.
We have 6 others to handle.
The fact that her wish was for it to never stop, essentially.
Confession
No,
time.
we want this, trust me.
Confession time. I love that. That's another card that everyone should read if they have a chance, because it's hilarious. But that's also Green, where you were mentioning the whispers. This is also where you kind of get the feeling that this is where they start noticing something, because they weren't aware of it, because it says she thought she heard Wei Ning whisper, and then she asked Wei Ning, did you say something? I was about to ask you. Huh.
Yeah, which still brings up, of course, that good old-fashioned idea of, did they really kill them?
Right, yeah, going back to because you also see, I think, is that Strides is...
with Ikora at the end.
Ikora is hovering over them.
Yep.
She
Which
hears
also...
the whispers, but she ignores them.
By the way, the concept that is introduced in Strides at the end is terrifying, because it says, together the Guardians summoned a storm of light that consumed the bones around them.
Warlocks be scary.
No, together. So it was Eris and Ikora. But, I mean, so we have seen elemental versions of light, or elemental manifestations of light, but this makes it sound like it's a literal storm of pure light.
It could be just their supers both going off and then taking over everything within the radius. Because if you have a blade dancer like Eris, and then depending on which version Ikora uses, whether or not it's the Nova Bomb or any of the others, really, there's going to be
Stormcaller is kind of what I would think.
Right. So there's gonna be a ton of light and flashing, and it's gonna feel like a storm because of how much is going on.
It's just
I
it would
don't
be
know.
interesting
Just
if Eris were able to call down her light differently, even as a hunter like that, given what she is able to do with the different measures of words and so on that we now know of with her. That would imply that she has been a very different hunter from day one.
She does get in one of the other cards. It does mention she uses her blade dancer abilities.
that was the
Right.
Wei Ning one. Yeah, she
Mhm.
blinks.
Yeah, she blinks and then unsheathes her blade.
Right. It makes me think that
I
she's
mean,
using
like the way that they say summoned a storm of light, like not of
Yeah,
arc.
no, exactly.
It's
Right.
but like that little nuance there just makes me wonder. You know, with it's kind of the Captain Planet scenario with our powers combined situation. You know, like if you harmonize potential manifestations of light, do you get a more pure wavelength of it?
Mhm.
You know, because we have characters such as like the Fulminator, for example. Now the Fulminator is more pure arc. It's not it's not really. I mean, arguably, it's light, but it's like the pure manifestation of arc. But I mean, like, so we have like these pure forms of elementals, and then you have like the void things and all that. You know, so arguably light is manifested as that particular element, or those particular elements, but that implies that there is something more than those elements that is being manifested, in a transcendent way. And so, and then the other reason that I kind of was this kind of pricks my curiosity is that it goes on to say that they ignored the whispers, but the voices grew louder, harsher as the maelstrom progressed. Soon they couldn't tell the difference between the whispers and the storm. Now, again, going back to what you're saying, Green, I do see that being maybe a alliteration or a metaphor because you do have the reference of stormcallers being, you know, the hurricane. Maelstroms are referenced a lot with those. But I mean, it's just, again, if they were doing that, I feel like they would call out like arc specifically, because it would just be I don't know. I just find that
Maybe
particular
looking too deep
phrasing.
into the cards,
Oh yeah, no,
but
it's entirely possible. But yeah, sorry. I was just like, that particular nuanced phrase is just like, oh man.
It's really hard to ignore.
Right.
is.
And this is also where Eris mentions that the Ahamkara are actually the source of her knowledge prior to her being a guardian. Now, that ties into truth. Is it Truth to Power? I think.
Yeah, but that.
But that's a rocky road as well, because we don't. You know, there's the whole Medusa thing going on, and that's a huge debate as well.
Which makes you wonder if Medusa is an Ahamkara that transformed into a Vex-like thinging, and then another rabbit hole. It's just too many rabbit holes.
Well, it also, I mean,
Right.
and this also kind of goes into the same card right here in the Strides, because Eris is saying everything they say is true, and Ikora actually rebukes her, and she says sentiment like that leads to morbid places, and it's almost like, be careful, because just because it's what you, and you saw that with Shinobu's scenario too. She's
with
like
the mother situation.
With the mother, because oh god, I just blanked. Nadia says she's lying to you because that's what you desire. So just because you're hearing something doesn't mean that that's the truth. It means that's what you want to hear.
Right.
The last one has quite a bit of implication as well, depending especially on when it happens.
The mask. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's yeah. Which
Because
it's also
Is
or
that,
go for it. Go.
that the one where Eris communicates with
The queen.
With Mara.
Mara.
She calls her Mara too. That's the other thing. Is like she's
Right.
very familiar with
She's
her.
not Mara is not a foreign entity to her.
No.
It's also really funny because you get the fact that the Nanots are authorized. I love that little tidbit. He says one of our warlocks stared into the paracausal phenomenon that formed over the Ishtar Academy and shot himself. Parentheses. He is not an authorized Nanot.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yes. They're like, what is he doing? Like, he's not supposed to be doing this.
It's like, dude, what the hell? That's my thing.
I don't know why that call out makes me giggle, but it just was like, I was like, oh my gosh.
Also, this seems to be quite a bit later because it mentions the war cult.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings up another really, really important question. And this is something that bugs me generally about the hunt. Do you reckon instead of being a concentrated period of time over which it took place, that it was just a general effort that eventually led to victory way down the line?
I would say I would lean more towards the second one on that because we do have the card that mentions a year into the Great Hunt. So we know that it's at least lasted a year, but it doesn't necessarily say that they all went out together. All these cards have references to 2 or 3 people engaging with them, not necessarily a huge amount of guardians going out like we'd had on the moon with the Crota fight.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's also a very important thing between both the armor and the weapons and how they reference, like, here with the armor we have longer implications or a longer story versus with the weapons we have individual stories that kind of get spattered among it all. Some being the reason, perhaps, like in Tallulah's and Caliban's case, of being a possible reason that the hunt had started, possibly even the first reason that it had started, and then it kind of carrying on throughout time. I think that's why it is kind of important to at least showcase like how the Great Hunt was versus the ones that are the raid weapons that are still in reference to Ahamkara, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean,
we know?
even the Order 66 didn't take place in a single instance, right? I mean,
Right,
and that's
that
pretty
was
much
still-
what this is an Order 66 of Ahamkara. So
Do we know
and
what?
a good majority of like genocide-related events or very similar within history?
it does take time.
I'm going to say it was. I found that I even had to bring that up. It was something that if we look at like old Greece and everything like that, of course, with like the Persians and how they were kind of handling, or even fighting back, of course, with the Spartans and so on. If we just want to call that up very quickly, that wasn't an overnight idea at all, like whatsoever. So just to pull like additional from another point in time, another point in history, just to kind of reference it.
Do we know what they did to Venus? This card references there's still so much we can learn from them, but what they've done to Venus, ...
I mean,
yeah, that I have no idea on. And that's something that's bugged me too, because it implies so much more.
Well,
right?
but there
of
is.
course, we also think back on a certain person called Albios, and of course, I always think back to what or the reason that he was there. But yeah.
The other thing is that there is another mention to them doing stuff on Venus in the card where they're going to get the weapons, right?
Yeah.
Because
Joxer?
Joxer makes a comment about it, and the Tetuan kind of offhandedly doesn't really correct him, but like makes like there's like no, like he's like, oh gosh, I'm gonna have to go look it up now.
It's in one of the Warlock ones.
Yeah, it's
I think it's either that or in Titan. Sorry, I'll look for it. You keep talking.
But there is another comment about what they're doing with Venus specifically. So Venus is kind of, there does seem to be kind of a focal point for the Ahamkara on Venus, and it could be a climate thing because, you know, again, the 5 Lives of Albios, where he kind of, you have that almost myth of him going out and seeing the Ahamkara. There's that whole thing too, which I think is what you're kind of talking about there, Beard.
Uh-huh.
Why don't I just do the smart way and just search for Joxer?
Yeah, I was going to say that'll be your quicker search between either that or And I was going to say Redrix, but he's not there.
Real quick,
Rexer would be the
The
fastest.
plate of the Great Hunt.
real quick, Rexy in chat is asking, Zavala doesn't like the idea of Guardians as an army, so do you think Zavala would send out a lot of Guardians to wipe them off the map? Well, to kind of respond to that, Zavala doesn't view the idea of Guardians as an army in particular context of what is going on in Forsaken. I would argue that Zavala does actually view the Guardians as an army, but his use of that army is not for revenge. We're not assaulting. We're not assaulting. We're defending. And also, Zavala is not in control at this time of the Great Hunt. So there's
that we know.
Well, and even if he was, he doesn't have the authority to make that call. That is a call by the consensus to actually do something of that nature. Even the Great Disaster was not a single person making the call. It was voted on by the consensus. Now, there was disagreement. Shax. Shax had a big problem with it, and rightfully so. But even then, it was the consensus that made the approval to do it. So again, with even with that, you do have a bit of a democracy is a bit of a strong word for it, but a literally a consensus.
Council.
Yeah, it's a council that reaches the consensus to then go forward with something, and you saw that within the Ghost Fragment Legends 3. And it said, even when forbidden, however, the Guardians sought the Wish Dragon, so it was decided to remove the temptation. So it's not so much any one figure, whether that was Zavala or Saladin or the Speaker or, pick your Saint 14, whoever. It wasn't necessarily just that one particular person. It was a group decision by the city that the temptation was too powerful.
Mm-hmm. You ready for another scary thought? Another scary connection? The Joxer card, the Plate of the Great Hunt. It's on Venus. The Ahamkara are blasting and paving entire regions of Venus, he said. They wouldn't be so base. They're rewriting Venus. What else occurs on Venus that another race that we fight against that has been known to try to rewrite things?
Yeah, no, that was my first exact thought as well. I don't know where they're kind of leading with that, but
Zerg.
You're right.
The Vex. Blue.
Look blue.
Yeah. So
We
it was
know
what
that Zur is a combination of so many cells, but you stop. You stop.
That's
it
why
was honestly one of those. It was one of those things that bugged me so much because I sat there and I was like, I know they are hinting towards Vex in this, but surely they aren't. Like, no, come on, like really, like how do we like, what's the wording I'm looking for?
reconcile?
Yeah, how do you reconcile that with everything we know about the Vex, and it's just, rabbit hole.
The other thing is like, if they're paving entire regions of Venus. Now, granted, we may not have been in any of the regions of Venus that the Ahamkara paved, but technically, as our Guardian was so new in D1, we wouldn't have known the difference. So if they're rewriting things, the Ishtar Academy is there. There's so many things on Venus that are really consequential to the lore specifically, that causes so many issues if the Ahamkara are the ones creating the reality in which we are existing in at this point.
Now all I have in my head is the Ahamkara versus Vex. Because both are trying to rewrite reality. One is being subjective while the other one's trying to impose a convergence. So like you have the duel between convergence and chaos.
Yeah.
Because the Ahamkara are subjective will upon objective reality, and the Vex in a way are objective reality upon subjective will. And it's not like we haven't seen battling philosophies in Destiny at all before.
What? There's none of that. What are you talking about?
What?
In addition,
every
to
explanation
that, though,
is simple. So sorry, Bid. Go ahead.
That's all right. I was gonna just comment on like the spots that have been like paved away on Venus or whatnot. I'm just thinking back on what we know about ghosts and the network that they have of information that they keep up on each other. I'm wondering if our ghost would know a little bit about that too. Might have been able to at least fill in some of the blanks for like, yeah, and here we see a spot that Shaxx pummeled into the ground because of the Ankara hunt. And of course our guardian just goes, the heck is that?
Because it's our guardian. And
Yeah.
Listen,
So I'm gonna call.
pulled pork
Go
needs
for
to
it.
be left alone, okay?
Oh my God! No.
okay,
Let's
we're
not
not
talk
going
about,
into that.
No.
We're not going into that. We're not
Never,
going
No.
into that.
ever.
Well,
No,
eventually,
I know.
but not
Event-
not this week.
when all will be revealed in time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Be patient. Be patient.
No,
do-
none of that. Shame on you.
There's more, Beard. There's so much more. I know you're avoiding spoilers, but damn.
Yeah, I know.
Yup.
I know.
Okay, I'm going to call back to something we talked about at the very beginning of the podcast with Saladin. Blue had mentioned that I had mentioned, and Blue kind of tag teamed with me on this one about the container containing weapons that Joxer gets from the Queen in this card. The container contains not only rifles, but also close quarter weapons.
Weapons.
So theoretically, it could have been Saladin's battle axe that he never gave back.
He never gave mine. It's mine now.
Now the question otherwise is, would Joxer have even told them that they have to give them back?
Yeah, that's true. And the
Because
other,
like what we know of Joxer otherwise and how he is with loot and whatnot and how easily swayed he is with Drifter, like he could have just been like, yo, I don't care. I'm going to keep this stuff.
Mhm.
This is great. It's fine by me. I was guns.
It's
Yeah,
just
really.
guns. It's great. It's just slightly drunk sounding ish.
There's
Joxer.
weapons in this box. You guys want some
Joxer.
weapons?
What do you mean I can't shoot the guns? I like the pew pew.
And they were all quiet. That's the other thing to keep in mind. They're silent killers in the night. All these weapons were meant to be quiet, not loud, bangy ones. Now, granted, the axes aren't exactly quiet in Rise of Iron.
What are you talking
Well-
about? It's a very quiet plume of flame in the air.
Oh my
An
God.
axe is very quiet. When you imbue it with solar energy, maybe not so much.
Yeah, at least it doesn't sound like the mall. The mall
Yeah.
is way too loud.
Oh, you don't like the gong?
Oh my God. Halfway across
Tink,
the map
tink!
and it sounds
Tink,
like they're
tink!
right next to you. It's not even tink tink at that point. It's just like boom.
I'm gonna say it's just like, wait, who's announcing the approach of the Emperor? Huh? What?
Where do I need to bow? Well, hang on.
Mhm.
Wait, I need to make sure I'm not branded a heretic. Where is he?
Hmm.
Oh man.
Goodness.
40K references. Ah,
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I like how you two got exactly where that was from, and I'm just sitting
Gosh,
here.
I'm just
blankly-
ignoring it. I'm just
Whatever.
ignoring it. Absolutely ignoring it. Oh my gosh.
Bid and I are going to
There goes the chat.
Uh-huh.
Ring the pain bell. Ring the pain bell.
Oh, stop.
So yeah, I think that's actually all of the items specifically so far that we've gotten.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Minus-
very brief summary of most of them because there's quite a
guess-
bit.
I gotta say, considering there's also more that also still talk about other Amkara that we kind of see. Bife, I know that one of your recent videos was on one of them, in fact.
Azarim, which
Yeah.
so this is one of those things where I think I've got to relate it back because Azarim's story is very open-ended. There is
Very.
no resolution as to what happens to Azarim himself. So it's one of those moments where you have to acknowledge what Shirochi said earlier. Again, it's like if an Ahamkara survived, if. And it's just like, hey, we know of Ahamkara that at least exist, and it's not something where you can fill in the holes, but if Bungie wanted to, they could.
Yep.
So it's neat that that's there, I think is what I
Yep.
would probably leave it with.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that That calls up quite a few questions about where the Ahamkara, if they're what ones are remaining or otherwise, if there are any, where they're hanging out, what they're doing, etc. Obviously, of course, there are still other relations to the Nine. We see so many different relations to what has been said of like the Legends 1 card for the Nine and how that pertains back to a few extra things. Oh God, Blue, please no.
Right.
Why did you have to bring up the
Right.
dreaded word?
No,
Why did you bring up the
no.
name?
I didn't even do
Blue-
it this time. It's not my fault.
He,
So we
he,
all-
he brought up the N-word. Not
He-
that N-word. Oh, God.
Wow, not that one.
Oh,
Not that one.
All right,
that went
not
so
that
quick. Nezarek.
clarification.
He said
Quick
Nezarek. He said
Quick.
Nezarek.
All right.
Backpedal.
Quick
Oh,
clarification on that one.
He poked the bear and said Nezarek. That's how we're gonna put it as. Now the thought of Nezarek as an Ahamkara is stuck in my head. Blue? No. Bad. Stop.
At this point, the thought
Gosh.
of any of the characters, any of the enemies being an Ahamkara is way too easy to entertain at this point.
But it could be easily said, especially if it's going to be something like Golden Age and whatnot.
Mhm.
Now all of a sudden, my AK-47 weapon reference makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
Clovis Bray, what?
Ooh.
Ay, ay, ay.
Mm.
Oh, my lord.
That was more Hive. But anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, just to kind of like sprinkle it out there, like there are just a lot of other Ahamkara references that we didn't necessarily go over here. Obviously,
Yes.
we're focusing on the Great Hunt in particular, and how characters were kind of like played with on them, how they were otherwise formed throughout it, how the Great Hunt kind of went. But that's about like our whole deal here. We're not looking for anything other than what had gone on during the Great Hunt. And again, with the implications of the Nine, the other characters that are otherwise associated with Ahamkara themselves, and how we don't necessarily know too much more about their physiology past them being the shapeshifters that they are. And then, of course, talking about some of the stuff that we did with Riven last time, there are plenty of other things that you can dig into with the Ahamkara that still give you enough hints to finally go by with them past, oh, they're just dragons. Like, we
Mhm.
finally have information on them, which is just absolutely superb.
Mhm.
So
Hmm.
to any and all of you that are out there that just got done listening to this, I hope you got something out of it that can help along with your theories, because in the end, that's the most important thing about any new info we get. I think with the Great Hunt and how that all kind of pertains back to how it either influences us or otherwise, at least for me, that's what I wanted to highlight. And I hope you got a little something more out of it, which is your theories on Ahamkara, because we all know that's a very big deal for all of us, at least in this chat or otherwise.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Speaking of theories, I have one I want to ask you guys after the show, because I do not want to go down this rabbit hole on air necessarily. It's kind of related to the Great Hunt, but really not. So that's one thing I do want to say that the Forsaken lore has done in particular. It's brought back the ability to the theory craft
Right.
Hmm.
effectively, because we
Yeah.
have so many more mysteries again. Answers, yes, but a lot more mystery.
I would agree. Aside from anything else as well, it speaks to the testament. It's a testament to the improved. I say improved as though there was anything really like atrocious about a lot of it before. No, like this follows very much the trend of Bungie's writing team and what
Mhm.
they've been learning from the very beginning of D1
And
since
learning from
Taken
each
King.
other.
And yeah, it's good. It's good.
Mm-hmm.
There is a nice
Ooh.
trend here.
In addition to that, just to kind of like harp on that for half a second, my Destiny 2 book, my first one that I have, is completely filled front to back from year one. Year one didn't have any problems for giving us lore, I'll tell you what.
Mm-hmm. As that year one of Destiny 1 or year one of Destiny 2? I'm assuming
Destiny
Destiny
2.
1. Oh,
Destiny
okay.
2. Destiny 2, actually, I filled an entire moleskin, no problem.
Mm.
For reference, Destiny 1 entirety was 2 books. So 3 years fit into 2 books, where right now I am actually on the path to fill 2 books in 2 years, especially with the stuff that it looks like they're coming out with. So that should actually give plenty of indication of like where we're at, and like why I had said at the start of the show, I think most of us are kind of just like drowning in a good majority of this stuff. And then I wish I were a little bit more bureaucratic, because then I could be like, well, this goes here, I'll cover this first. And there's just, it's all in such a mishmash. There is so much to cover.
It's one of those things where it's almost impossible to effectively do it all at once. And I mean, let's be honest, with Black Armory coming up, I know that's going to mess with schedules generally. Like,
right. I'm going to say nobody, I think, is going to be like on point with what we want to do. Like those 3 videos a week that you had. Well,
I mean, it could be 4 really short ones, or it could be like 2 30-minute ones, or it could, there's no, there will be no congruence to anything, and that's just part of, I think, what we have to accept. It's fine.
Yeah. I gotta say, the first couple weeks for any release, it feels like it's kind of that way too. But anyway, just to harp on that fact a little bit more, like there is so much for us to kind of dig through, and obviously with the tangents we went down on so many of these items, that should tell you something for the linking trends that you still find within Destiny's lore. It's still very possible, and it's still very prevalent.
Indeed.
Sorry, chat. All right. Anyways, shout outs so we can get on to Green's post show question.
Oh no.
Bife, what do you have for us this week?
So, shout outs. I think there's one thing that I want to shout out. It's not anything that's immediately lore related, but it's, and I hope it's not taboo to shout out another podcast on this, but I actually want to go ahead and shout out the Saint 14 podcast. Because they cover a lot of really interesting stuff with regards to mental health, but also they do character analysis with each of their podcasts, and they try and make it so that it's breaking down the various characters we get in Destiny and sort of explaining everything behind them. Which in itself is really good, but also, I feel as though that podcast has the potential to really go places and do good people. So, I definitely want to go ahead and give a shout out to them. Also, big thanks to you guys for inviting me back and for changing the show time to make it earlier so that I could actually be on, and so that it wasn't unreasonable. Because now it's like 11:45 here in the UK PM, and normally I'd be like, okay, only 3 more hours until Focus Fire. It's just like, this made a huge difference, and I'm very glad. And so, big thank you. Thank you very much. Very, very glad.
Immolation.
Beard, what about you?
One major one actually goes to something that just happened to Matt, aka Mylan Games.
Yeah.
I am. I'm going to read this tweet just verbatim as what he had posted. Extremely shocked and humbled to have been nominated for YouTube Creator of the Year at the Australian Games Awards. Don't know how I was nominated considering the competition, but thank you. Just the fact that this guy is now like up for nomination within his Australian space is amazing.
Right.
It should show like the amount that the farthest he has come as a creator, and what he does for the community on the daily. He's just doing some awesome stuff between his PhD and his channel. So big shout out to Matt.
Seriously, one of the most deserving guys of that.
Speaking of which,
Absolutely.
The other thing that Mylan did that is coming out into your mailboxes if you ordered it. I know a few people already have access to it, including Matt, who got an advanced copy. Is the anthology.
God. So Anon has been showing a bunch of people in the lore community, because he's one of the lucky sods that's got his on time, unlike other people in the UK. He's been showing a bunch of small excerpts from it, and if you have any interest in Destiny's lore whatsoever, or if you are just one of those nerds, get these things, because seriously, great. Matt and Bungie's team have done an astounding job, and it's not just the old grimoire. There's the new stuff is I will say nothing for the sake of people who don't want to be spoiled here, but Holy shit.
Well, I'm going to say
It is
for
amazing.
you and me
Pass
as
tag.
Owen fans,
Pew, pew.
I think I'll just leave it there just to say that.
Mhm.
You know?
I'm clapping.
Yeah, it's new stuff as well as some older stuff. It is a compilation of like a lot of different things, and compilation of a lot of different.
No, I like
things.
it. Compilation. Compilation is official now.
I'm rubbing off on Beard. It's fine.
Combinations, Elizabeth. Anyway, for about
It's
4 people that got that Homestar Runner reference, the lore book though in general looks like it is very well put together. I am anxious to get mine. The art looks fantastic. So if any of you were wanting to know like when that was coming, seems like some people are already getting a hold of it directly from Bungie, which is pretty cool. So yes, to mirror what Green was saying as she stole my shout out, you stepping on my toes, person as you always are. Yeah, I guess so.
The whispers. It's fine.
But yes, I absolutely love what is happening with this community in general. I had posted a tweet the other day how it's very hard for me to keep up with everything that's happening.
Oh my gosh,
and even if
yes.
there is like a small bit of bad that happens, like 20 good things just keep popping up. If you are somebody that's just having fun with the game, good on you. Like that's what it's all about. Or if you're in Blue's case, of which I still don't understand what's going on with that.
I just like reading about the game.
I was gonna say I don't get a chance to really play it much anymore, so thank God I can at least read it.
I'm like, well,
Yeah.
My recent experience with the game is I sit in orbit for 20 minutes waiting for something to load. So
Yeah, some of the glitches that are in not
and
only
it's
Xbox
not
but also
because
in
of
the
my
raid right
internet.
now.
It's not because of the internet.
Morgoth is
Yeah.
yeah. What more should we say?
I mean, there's one way to stop a raid boss from dying, and that's hack the world, right?
I mean,
Obviously,
Morgoth,
it worked great
the
with
ultimate-
Oryx.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man. So Green, did you have any more or?
I have one more shout out beyond that, and it's actually somebody we kind of shouted out a little bit earlier, Issachel, and the Bad Destiny joke. I'm just going to shout her out again. She's putting out some really
she does so much good work.
They're so good.
Plus, I have an inside scoop that she's wanting to do more lore-oriented ones.
Yep.
So that will be in the works, hopefully, and I am looking forward to seeing that. But yeah, totally give her a follow on Twitter. She also has a website, issachel.com, I think, is her website, where she has a lot of her Bad Destiny jokes, comics, and some of her other writing. It's great. Great stuff. Also, she's a clan member, so Woot Hydra.
That's not the way you should say that.
I know, but I don't want to say it the other way because you guys are going to go off on a tangent. And before you ask, she is that person.
Well, if you guys are in the live chat, stick around. We apparently have a question for a tangent, and I also have a 5-year-old who really wants to say hello to everyone. So, and that is going to be put up on YouTube as it normally is, as soon as I possibly can get it over for the unstructured live stream archives. But as always, you guys have a great week. We will see you next week, which will be the extra lore recap for Fallout. I'm actually kind of looking forward to that one. But yeah, so we're going to run through an outro, and then as always, we'll stay around for a little bit of an after show. With that, we'll begin to wrap the chat up. Thank you again to those over on Twitch for coming to spend your evening with us. If you'd like to join us for the live streaming of the episodes, please be sure to give us a follow over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat. Links to our episode archives can be found at www.focusfirechat.com. Please be sure to email us at focusfirechat@gmail.com with any comments or questions for our team concerning the podcast, and let us know how we're doing by giving us some feedback and a rating over on iTunes as well. Also, be sure to check out all of our amazing partner podcasts within the Guardian Radio Network over on theguardiansofdestiny.com. So until next time, focus your fire and may your light shine bright. Hey, we were only like 10 minutes over.
That's not too
I was
bad.
gonna say I was gonna say at the top of the show, if we run a little late, we could just blame Bife.
No, don't blame Bife.
I mean,
If we
fairness,
run
TBH.
I also don't think anybody's gonna be mad that we go along with Bife on, to be honest.
I'm gonna
No,
say,
I think
how
they're
often do
mad.
we
They're
get-
mad that we didn't make him read every single entry.
Yeah, that
Right.
was going up
That
in
is
chat.
possible.
That is possible.
Even my wife, who doesn't pay attention to the lore, is like, I could just listen to him. Just turn him on and we can go to sleep. I was like, really? I don't want wife reading me to sleep. That's
So-
not going to happen.
First of all, I should say, no offense taken whatsoever. I hate the sound of my own voice on that front, so I completely freaking get it. But that's not a unique comment. Is what's really scary. You want to know that?
I also
That's-
have.
I came back after the break. And I hopped into the WTF stream for the first time in ages, and one of the viewers on WTF stream is called Cardoc Ren. And him and I have done a few of the Ragecations together. And then he said, hang on, I've got my Twitch whispers here. I can probably give verbatim. But he just like, yeah, it's like, yeah, it's good to be back, dude. Thank you for sticking around with me. And then Codex Ren says, my wife hates Destiny, but always watches your stuff. And I was like, I believe I remember having this conversation before. Lo and behold, we have actually had this conversation like 3 times. And then after that, there was just a very long silence. And I was like, okay, hope you're doing well, man.
Bye.
Yeah, it's just like, I like the sound of your voice just to get that out there. It's just I know you, and it's a little weird to fall
It's
asleep
weird.
to it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
No,
was
yeah, it's weird.
I
things
was-
that-
I've also,
I
I've
was
also
told by
met
a fan
another
at the
British
top of
person
the-
who sounds like you, which is like, oh my god, no, he hops into our fire team sometimes, and I'm like, you sound way too much like Bife. This is awkward.
I was told at the top of the show that both you and me being on here, Bife, is going to put them to sleep. And I was like, oh, good. Now apparently I have that effect on people. Great.
I mean, hey, dude, embrace it. Embrace it.
I've officially fallen into the Bife Mylan crew of putting people to sleep. Wonderful.
Sultry tiger and silky beard.
I believe they call that
No,
LSMR
oh
as
God.
in law,
Oh God.
as opposed to whatever the A stands for. in
I'm writing that
ASMR.
down. We're gonna do a new show. The Sultry Tiger and Silky Beard Show.
Speaking of which, look, Cole
Lord.
just popped into chat.
Hey, cool.
Cole, we have a new idea for a comic. I broke
But-
everybody.
Okay.
But
So-
I already posted it on Twitter.
Oh, yeah, you did,
And-
didn't you?
Yeah.
Tweet.
Yeah, and she
And
posted.
Cole
a
posted
comment to
something
it, too.
back.
Yes, she
Yes.
did. I threw it in chat.
Which
A
is
thousand tiny titans.
Yes.
singing
off
off-key Barbie Girl,
Yup.
which is absolutely brilliant.
May have slipped into DMs during that moment when you guys were cracking up to tell her the story.
Immolation.
I've apparently made my server mad too because there's like 4 people that apparently have also posted about that song today, and I'm wondering, are they all related to this chat? Do they happen to be? Because if that's the case, we have started something that cannot be undone.
It's our 1,000 voice attack on the world.
Oh Lord.
So
No, I'm
this
hooked
is
on.
gonna be
I'm hooked on the Ghost is Ahamkara idea.
Did you see
get
that my
out.
Ahamkara is, or the ghost is pulled pork, or the
Did you see
Ahamkara
my?
is
Did
pulled
you see?
pork?
Did you see my pulled Ahamkara fresh from the hunt?
Oh.
That pun hurts.
But
Legitimately
God.
oh my.
Have you read the data mine stuff?
I have. Okay, so here's the thing. Back in the like big like group chat, I asked Anon to link me a bunch of the stuff, and I have not had a chance to read through it at all. So I think I'm going to probably read that through bed. But he's given me the rundown on
Good.
BA stuff and the sort of history there with Ada, and I will say no more than that. For the sake of spoilers.
Do we have an order on that stuff at least that I can poke through it? Speaking of,
I only have the
to look into it,
PDFs. I don't think
Okay.
I haven't seen any order to it at this point.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of wondering.
You
I'm
might
wondering if Baxter would have the order again, because I know he sees it, but he's not posting it.
Well, yeah, it has redacted in the API, so he'll at least be able to access the what it shows up as in the API at least.
Yeah. I'll have to poke him for that later, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Question for Green, or Green's question for us.
Oh, the Eris shard, is that the Aham collarbone
No,
inside of her orb?
I don't think so.
It whispers to her.
It's a good question, but then again,
It's
the whispers
obvious.
fall silent when Oryx dies.
Right.
It's one of those things of like, well, surely it
It's-
has to be hive related.
It's
Yeah,
possible.
We
I
all
was just
know what
actually
it is.
trying- I know, but that's my
No,
my
don't
idea
say it, Blue.
is
Don't,
where
no.
connecting the hive to. It's not Thrall Scat. Dear God, Blue. Oh my God. It was connecting the hive to the Ahamkara. That thread. Granted, there's more connections between Ahamkara and Vex.
I think we've lost him.
I know. I give up when he does this shit, and I just keep going because eventually he'll come back around and we'll be fine.
It's been like 3 years since we had that podcast, and you can still bring it up, and it still makes me go, no!
It's amazing! I just remember
I'm
when
so
you
sorry,
relayed
Green.
that to the Guardian radio, and they were like, wait, what? Oh my God. That makes me so happy. And I mean, it explains why Cade didn't want it on his table. It's poop.
Get your rock off my map.
Get your shit off my map.
He's fine with it now.
Yeah, he doesn't care about it now.
Yeah. Oof.
Goodness.
Only a little bit tragic.
A lot of it tragic. Speaking of, your picture that you sent out about the Chronicler being completed, Bife.
Oh my God, I did not realize people were gonna not realize that was from a vidoc.
They got
Oh,
so
man.
like even people in Hydra Clan were a little salty about it. It's like, oh my
About
God,
what?
guys. So
Holy Lord.
No, say it's not possible yet, right?
No,
No, it's not. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
So
Right.
basically, I'll give you the rundown on this. DMG, because Let's Get This Bread is a thing, says, tell me what your favorite kind of bread is.
Let's get this bread.
Yeah, so basically, Let's Get This Bread is a way of saying, like, hey, let's get this thing that we're all chasing and that we really want to get, right? Let's get this bread, right? Whether that's like a raid completion or whatnot. And, whenever you get said thing, you will tweet saying bread acquired. And DMG tweets out being like, hey, show me your favorite kind of bread. And I tweet Chronicler because I want that bread. I don't have that bread, but I want that bread. It is my favorite kind of bread. And people lose their goddamn minds and think I actually have Chronicler, when anyone who's like deep in the search for truth to power knows that we have a very long time until we see our first Chronicler. Unless there's something in the future that dramatically changes things. So...
Right.
Yeah,
it
man.
broke the internet for a while. It was fun to watch.
Yeah. That was one of those moments where I just sort of looked at the various people being like, you did... And I just sort of sat there and I was like, the only way to reply to this is as calmly as possible. And that is fine.
Uh-oh, Cole's gonna make a comic out of it, it looks like.
Oh, God.
Bread acquired.
Bread acquired. I mean, the wonderful thing is you could do that with literally anything. I mean, Breakneck is a fantastic piece of bread now you can get. You can go ahead and go for the mountaintop. That's bread. Not Forgotten is bread. Yeah.
Did you see that Breakneck actually, a couple people already have it?
Oh, yeah. No,
People
that's
already have
I want to get it
mountaintop.
before... Yeah, I want to get it before frickin'... In fact, that's my entire plan for tomorrow, is just to grind until I get Breakneck. Yeah.
40 games, though. Damn.
Yeah, it's okay.
Elliot
You can get that.
post.
You can get that bread when you got a team.
Oh, yeah. It's not that bad. Like, even the top 3 things that you have to complete, like, what is it? Like 100 kills or whatever, or 400 kills?
500 kills, 100
Yeah.
multi-kills, and 150 high HV, not HVT, challenging enemy kills, which
Yeah.
again is really not tough in Gambit.
No, you can do that in like 20 matches. It's you have to play 40 matches that is going to take a long ass time.
Yes. Which is a shame. But, I guess, tis the balanced way.
Mm-hmm. It's the grind.
Mm-hmm. God, I really look forward to that, though. And also, I mean, like, I know it's probably going to have minimal story implications, but I'm looking forward to it because my team and I are on the hard grind again for that day 1 raid completion.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That'll be good. I'm really curious to watch that one. I'm not going to actually participate this time, I don't think, but especially if it's the location is what I think it's going to be.
So this is something I actually want to go ahead and ask on like that more general point to all of you guys.
Mhm.
What do you think of the rumors that it is going to be like a return of Siva? What do you think of that?
With the different items having the Siva, at least iconography, or I guess on
It
it.
makes
and just like even the hints, right?
I mean, it makes
the enemy
sense from a
design.
thematic. Well, I mean, like it from a lore point of view too. It makes sense because are you talking about the foundries and stuff?
Yes, the foundries, but also there's okay, so for starters it's the foundries. Secondly, the raid stuff that you get,
Mhm.
it's very much on that same kind of like angular lines aesthetic, black and red.
Oh, yeah, I'm
The
completely
foundry
oblivious to
weapons
all
as
that
well,
stuff.
the basic legendaries, and then also there's maybe this is something that this was brought to me by Lorcan OC actually. If you go and listen to some of the sound files from Black Armory and specifically the music, it's got some of the same kind of like flares that were used to identify Siva during Rise of Iron, which
I'm
is
excited
a
for it.
very niche reference. But if
Mhm.
anyone is going to make it and have some credibility behind their voice, it's going to be Lorcan OC. So yeah, they are completely correct on that front.
It'll
I hope.
be interesting to see who the new host is or who the new controller of Siva is.
If it's changed, is that a comment I really want to get into? If it's changed,
Mm-hmm.
oh boy, yeah, I'm gonna leave that one on the table for God knows how long.
Well, the other thing is just the fact that we have Black Armory in general, so we're going to get into a lot of foundry type situations already.
Oh yes, there's so much. This is kind of what I love, though. Like you're getting really to that point at which it's become expansive to where we know a little bit about everything. And yet they can still throw something completely new at us, and it doesn't feel like it's completely outlandish.
Mhm.
Like you look at Black Armory, and it feels as though it's something that honestly could have existed back in the day, right? Like you'll go there and you'll be like, ah, yes, the Black Armory in an age where Siva existed and Clovis Bray was manufacturing the war mines. Like it makes a load of sense. It feels right.
Mhm.
You know?
Speaking of that, what if the Black Armory is the user of Siva?
Hi.
The one. Whoa! Oh, hi.
Oh, hey,
Hello.
minion.
Can you say hi?
Hello.
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 Can you hear him?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes, I
Yep.
can hear you.
Loud
Oh no, I was asking him. I'm
So
wearing the
Blue told
headset.
me before about a week ago that little minion here wanted to be on the show and say hi to you, Bife.
Oh, hey there. How are you doing?
Oh, he's already found the R2D2 and has taken off.
Oh, okay. All right. Yep.
Aw.
Bye, minion.
Well, he did what he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Oh man, all the lore crafting that can happen right now.
Hey, Brave.
Hello. How are you doing, little minion?
Not a
Talking to the
minion.
mic. Talking.
I'm not a minion.
don't like
Oh,
bananas?
I'm so sorry.
I do not
I am
like
so sorry.
bananas.
No.
Mm.
What do you like?
I like avocados.
That is a very sophisticated taste for a
Yes.
5-year-old.
That is.
I'm
Damn,
not even.
that's an
I'm not even 5.
What? How old are
what?
you are.
The fact that you even know the word avocado is amazing, to be honest. Oh my lord.
Kind of what I was saying.
All right, watch out. Don't trip. There you go. You got it?
Yep.
All right. Good job.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Cuteness overload.
Careful. Don't break it.
Aw.
He doesn't actually pop onto the show very often. I haven't heard him since.
Well, because
probably
normally
a
he's
year and a
asleep.
half ago. That's true.
Hmm.
Because it's
Speaking of, I
6
hate
o'clock
I
right
hate to
now.
cut things off. But yeah,
Yes.
it is just ticked over midnight here. I should probably start winding down.
Sounds good to
Again.
me.
Thank you for editing the show times. It was a pleasure to be on as always.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yes.
We'll have to do it again.
Yes.
I look forward to it.
On December, what was the date? No, I'm
Which
kidding.
one? Which one?
The one after Christmas.
We are going to try to do one on, I think, the 29th. Or no, 29th or the 30th. I can't remember.
We were looking at. I think your wife wanted to do the 30th because
Okay.
you guys would give you a day off. Yeah. Don't ask me why I know the schedule between him and his wife. It's a little weird.
That's okay. Trust me, I've dealt with dealer.
Hmm.
Dealer? I've dealt with
Goodbye.
weirder.
Mhm.
Papa.
I don't know. Goodbye. Good night.
Good. Go.
Get some rest, Bife.
All right.
Great
Night,
to have
bye.
you on again too.
Beard, green, blue. As always, it is an absolute pleasure. I'll catch you guys around.
Sir. See ya.
Bye. All right. And with that, I'm going to go try to corral
A 5-year-old.
the Matthew into doing something productive.
Matt got real
What are we
upset. I
doing?
called him Minion, even though you call him Minion all the time.
Markers and like the markers.
Markers.
All the markers.
He's explaining
All the
something.
markers.
And then
Yes.
when they oh little very
Oh, yeah.
and then
Oh, the wax paper?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. I still
Sorry.
think, Blue, that you should put a little ring ding ding da ding thing in very small text underneath that.
You said that back, and I was like, I don't get it. Oh, yeah, I haven't watched that in so long.
Uh-huh. I guarantee you people will still get the reference, though.
But it does make more sense. I'm gonna see if I can play with it to get that and make more sense. But I was thinking of using like the Chronicle logo or something. Oh, you know what? I got it. I'll mock something up and send it over to you guys.
Okay.
All
I'm gonna
right.
go spend time with my wife.
Sounds
So,
good.
okay.
Stream. You guys have a great evening, night, morning, whatever it is to you guys, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.